I originally just wanted to get my two older sisters back, but who knew I'd be noticed by the seventh prince of the Yin Kingdom? In that case, Tao Xiaowei will go to the Yin Kingdom and burn down his mansion. Only by wreaking havoc in the Yin Kingdom will this study trip be satisfying. The king of the Qi Kingdom was utterly foolish, causing the people to suffer and a national treasury to be empty. On a beautiful day, a spark of war burned straight to the capital of the Qi Kingdom. A white-haired man raised his sword high, shouting, "You want to block my path? Drop dead." The soldiers of the Qi Kingdom could only hide on the city walls, trembling as they said, "The flag has the character Yin. It's the seventh prince of the Yin Kingdom. It's the god of slaughter, Yin Shi." The soldiers of the Yin Kingdom received his order and swarmed forward to fight with all their might, leading to the fall of the Qi Kingdom. The Yin Kingdom had successfully conquered the Qi Kingdom. Inside the main hall, only a few members of the Qi royal family remained. Some were weeping and wailing. "We're surely dead now, Your Highness," while others were drenched in cold sweat. Yin Shi, as if seeing nothing, quietly walked in. A fat man immediately rushed forward, saying, "Seventh Highness, please spare my life." He indifferently asked, "The Emperor of Qi, I presume?" How on earth was he spot on? Yin Shi sat on the throne, lazily beginning, "I heard you have two stunningly beautiful princesses." The emperor was immediately overjoyed. "Yes, yes, yes. Hurry and bring the princesses here to offer to the seventh highness." Even a eunuch had the self-respect to say, "Your Majesty, you are of noble status. Do not do such a dirty thing and debase yourself." He became furious, stomping on the man while yelling, "Fool, what you know? Guards, bring the princesses here." "Your Highness, look, can you spare my life?" Yin Shi gave a cold laugh, saying, "Selling your daughters to save your own life, and you call yourself the king of a country." Then he coldly recalled his own royal father, Yin Xiaolin, who had personally ordered, "Those two princesses must be brought back without a single hair on their heads harmed." For me, Yin Shi was speechless, thinking, "You people are all so alike." While the king of Qi was kowtowing and begging, he said indifferently, "Take these two princesses back to the Yin imperial palace and present them to his majesty." As soon as he finished speaking, a child's voice immaturely cried out, "Bastard, let go of my sisters." The little green-haired girl flew straight towards Yin Shi and successfully chomped down on his arm. This kid's teeth were so sturdy that dentistry should learn from them. No matter how much he shook, she wouldn't let go. Yin Shi seriously pinched her nose and said softly, "Open your mouth. Only puppies bite people. Let them go. On what grounds should I listen to you?" The green-haired kid struggled and said, "On the grounds that I am the princess of Qi, Tao Xiaowei. Let me go and release my sisters." Yin Shi gave a cold laugh, lifting the kid up and asking, "A princess of Qi? Surname Tao." A guard felt a chill down his spine, thinking, it's over. This little princess has provoked the god of slaughter, the seventh highness. Even if she doesn't die, she'll be skinned alive." But out of professional habit, he still reported, "Your Highness, although she is a princess, she was born of a mistress from outside the palace, so she is not listed in the royal genealogy." Yin Shi looked at the fierce little kid in his hand and said with satisfaction, "It seems the Qi imperial palace has one person with some backbone left. Pass on my orders. Seal the imperial palace and await my royal father's decree for further action. As for this little thing, there's no need to include her on the list of war spoils." Upon returning to the Yin Kingdom, the place was surprisingly peaceful and strange. Yin Shi quickly changed his armor, putting on a robe and a hat. He dressed himself seriously and neatly, and as soon as he closed his eyes, he heard a eunuch announcing an imperial edict. "By the mandate of heaven, the emperor proclaims, the seventh prince, Yin Shi, led the army to attack the Qi Kingdom, achieving glorious military merit. He is in theft as Prince Yin to manage all business in the capital city without probation." After it was done, the emperor finally spoke, "My royal son, we haven't seen each other for a long time. You seem to have lost a lot of weight. Quick, summon the imperial physician to have a look." He said decisively, "No need." Then the emperor said again, "My royal son, you brave the battlefields. I am very worried." Another title, Yin Shi immediately cut him off, "Unnecessary." The Yin emperor gritted his teeth, and said, "This time, Sheer did not disappoint everyone's expectations and defeated the Qi kingdom. I shall reward you with 2,000 taels of gold." He still said indifferently, "There's no need." The emperor was so angry he trembled, thinking, if it weren't for Old Seventh's skill in battle, I would have long ago. But what he said was different. "Old Seventh, tell me, who did you get this arrogant personality from? Go back to your residence." Only then did Yin Shi say with satisfaction, "Your son takes his leave." The Yin emperor watches retreating back, cursing inwardly, "Old Seventh, oh, Old Seventh, sooner or later I will lose all my patience with you." As soon as he returned to his residence, someone trailed after him. "Congratulations, congratulations, Your Highness, on your promotion to Prince Yin." But Yin Shi only asked one question, "Where is that little thing?" The steward immediately stammered, saying, "That little guest. She threw such a tantrum that we couldn't handle her. She's been placed in the woodshed." Yin Shi actually went to the woodshed. As soon as he entered, he saw the cocoon Tao Xiaowei wriggling and cursing. "You are all bad people. Let this princess go." The steward was startled when he saw his master draw his sword. However, he only neatly cut the rope she was hanging from, successfully catching Xiaowei in his arms. The green-haired kid, seeing that her bottom didn't hurt, found the courage to curse, "Bastard, you dare to scare me." As soon as she finished speaking, her whole body went limp, and no matter how Yin Shi called out to the little thing, there was no response. So he frantically ordered the steward to quickly summon the imperial physician. That night at Prince Yin's residence, Tao Xiaowei remained unconscious for a long time. The imperial physician consulted book after book, sighing, continuing like this is not good. As soon as they saw Yin Shi approach, they stood up to greet him. He sat down beside the green-haired kid, touching her forehead as he asked, "What exactly happened?" The two imperial physicians took turns explaining, "This young lady is still young. Her body is weak, and she was exhausted from the journey. That's why she caught a cold." Yin Shi gave a faint smile. "You imperial physicians can't even cure a common illness like a cold? Then what use are you?" The physician trembled and said, No, it's not that this old servant is incompetent. It's just that this young lady refuses to drink it. All the medicine we feed her, she vomits back up." Yin Shi said softly, "Wake up, little thing." But Xiaowei still didn't respond to him. After observing for a moment, the seventh prince said softly, "Give me the medicine." He actually took a mouthful of the medicine himself and personally fed it to her, mouth to mouth. This made both the imperial physician and the maids in the residence's hair stand on end. How on earth did Xiaowei not vomit it out? On the contrary, she obediently swallowed the medicine. Yin Shi gently wiped the kid's mouth, then quietly laid her back down on the bed. Then he said, "Isn't she drinking it now?" The two imperial physicians, their faces pale, thought in unison, "Who would dare to feed her like you do?" Seeing that things were settled, Yin Shi intended to leave. However, Tao Xiaowei reached out her small hand and tightly gripped his sleeve. With tears welling in her eyes, she mumbled in her sleep, "Mother, Wei Wei hurts a lot. It's so uncomfortable." Yin Shi just stood there quietly for a long time. Inside, in the end, he just gave his own clothes to the kid and left with his six-pack durian body. The quick-witted steward draped a robe over him and said softly, "Your Highness, this old servant was ignorant. After this young lady recovers, how should we arrange for her?" Yin Shi replied, "Wait for that little kid to get better, then just arrange for her to be a maid in the residence." Sure enough, a few days after Tao Xiaowei recovered, the head maid came to instruct her, "His Highness has appointed you as his personal maid. This is a blessing for 3 generations of your family. First, you must learn the basics of making tea and pouring water." The mischievous kid immediately let them free fall, causing several teacups to shatter, while she herself laughed with great satisfaction. She was immediately whipped by the head maid, who fiercely scolded, "Who told you to let go?" Xiaowei sobbed, "Who gave you the right to hit this princess?" The woman said fiercely, "Right now, you are just a disobedient little maid. I'll hit you however I want." When the steward came to hear the report, he learned that since the morning, the kid had broken 8 tea sets, 10 cups, 15 jade plates, and 3 out of 10 vases were also broken. As soon as he heard the words, "and also," his eyebrows furrowed so hard they wanted to touch. The maid then reported, the woodshed she was locked in was also burned to the ground. And as she lit the fire, she cursed, "You big bastard. So you burn my home. I'll set your home on fire too." and then she even snorted coldly. The steward broke out in a cold sweat, lamenting, "Oh my, why on earth did the master bring home such a little ancestor?" Meanwhile, Tao Xiaowei was still clutching her whipped hand, feeling wronged. She recalled the peaceful days with her mother, hearing her mother's comforting words. "How did you hurt yourself like this again? Let mother blow on it for you." Remembering that warm scene, Xiaowei sobbed, "You are all bad people. I want to go home." The steward watched, speechless, making a 5-year-old child a personal maid between His Highness and that kid, who was actually serving whom. At the same time, while Yanxi was bathing, his personal guard came to report, "Your Highness, 3 assassins from another country were captured tonight. They are all cultivators. We couldn't capture any of them alive." He said indifferently, "I know, you may leave." He sneered inwardly. The Qi kingdom has just fallen, and the other countries are already getting restless this quickly. Good. I'm getting impatient waiting for the day I can destroy them all. After returning to his room, Yanxi was utterly stunned to see Tao Xiaowei lying neatly under the fur blanket on his bed, thinking, "Why is this little thing here?" He fiercely lifted her up, successfully flipping her crybaby switch. Xiaowei said resentfully, "Bastard, I'm scared. I don't dare to sleep alone." However, Yanxi remained firm, thinking, "Have I been too lenient with this child? No, I'm getting soft-hearted again." Tao Xiaowei sat on the floor, sniffling and cursing affectionately, "Bastard, it's so cold." But the kid was still stubborn, standing up and pulling back the curtain to curse directly, "Big bastard." But inside was only quiet emptiness. In the end, the rustling sound of the wind made her shiver. It's unclear what Xiaowei saw, but her eyebrows knitted together, and her crying stopped. Then the kid started coughing so violently that Yanxi couldn't get to sleep. So the boogeyman had to get up, pull back the curtain, and quietly look at her. He immediately saw the fierce battle in the Qi kingdom enveloping the innocent child. Yanxi reached out and grabbed the small neck of Xiaowei. It made the kid's heart pound, and she thought in fear, am I going to be killed? However, Yanxi pulled her by the collar and straightforwardly placed her onto the bed. Although she didn't understand what was happening, the L in Xiaowei's name stood for Reckless. The kid immediately cursed right next to his ear, "Bastard." Yanxi replied, "Close your eyes and go to sleep. If you're not obedient, I'll throw you out." The kid froze, and in the end still hugged him tightly, feeling the warmth and falling into a deep sleep, while Yanxi kept chanting to himself, "Last time, last time, last time." The next morning was as beautiful as any other. As soon as Yanxi opened his eyes, he didn't see the little ancestor, thinking, this little rascal woke up really early. It was only when he got out of bed that he realized only one of his shoes was left. And the only one who could have ruined this beautiful pairing was Tao Xiaowei. Yanxi tried to be a mature, non-grumpy prince, but the volcano finally erupted. He gritted his teeth and cursed, "That rotten little demon." Somehow, Yanxi Shu was sitting snugly in a bird's nest, while Tao Xiaowei, who was being falsely accused, was diligently following a group of maids. While she carefully carried a basin of water, she heard them urge, "Hurry up, don't delay the prince's breakfast time." Yanxi followed all the procedures of a royal noble, such as washing his hands, changing clothes, and then opening his mouth to wait for food to be served. Tao Xiaowei's eyes sparkled as she looked at the rainbow-colored dishes on the table. Yanxi noticed and gave a mocking half-smile. This made the kid so frustrated she gnawed on the tray, cursing, "Big bastard, you were definitely laughing at my hunger just now, weren't you?" The steward's eyes also widened, thinking, just now did His Highness smile? Impossible. Our Highness is famous on the battlefield for being cold-blooded and ruthless. How could he smile? A second later, Yanxi said gently, "Wei Wei, come and eat." The kid's ego screamed, "I'm not hungry." But her stomach immediately betrayed her, rumbling loudly. The seventh prince picked up a soup dumpling, and wherever the dumpling wiggled, Xiaowei was there, which amused him greatly. "This little rascal is truly interesting. She'll be mine." Seeing her drooling all over the floor, Yanxi immediately lifted her onto his lap. Tao Xiaowei also felt it was strange and struggled. "Say, let go, let me go." To shut her noisy mouth, Yanxi immediately stuffed a bun into it, saying softly, "What are you angry about? Eat." The kid, getting to eat delicious food, said respectfully, "They said you were the master, and I am a servant, so I can't sit at the same table to eat." Though her mouth said that, her hands are already taking one bun after another, to the point where the seventh prince had to gently remind her, "Eat a little slower. Don't choke." He got her a bowl of soup, and then gently watched the little kid eat her. Breakfast. This scene was so frightening that the steward had to exclaim, "It must be because this old servant is old and my eyes are playing tricks on me. This is absolutely not our prince. Since when did our prince become so gentle?" Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, at a certain residence, someone was leisurely playing with his bird when a guard came to disturb him. "Third Highness, now is a good opportunity for the power struggle. We must win over the 7th Highness's army to be able to confront the crown prince." The third prince said softly, "Has there been any new movement in Old 7th's residence recently?" This prince wants to prepare a small gift. A letter arrived at Yan Shi's residence, very affectionately, from your elder brother, Yan Sha. "I heard that you recently acquired a stunningly beautiful princess. So, I want to give you a small gift to show my admiration." As soon as he finished reading, he assessed, "What is Yan Shua planning?" Then he highlighted the 2 words "stunningly beautiful" in the letter and looked over at Tao Xiaowei, who was hugging a broom and dozing off, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Stunningly beautiful? Is there something wrong with his eyes? The steward said softly, "Those few boxes of gifts are all cosmetics, clothes, and jewelry for women. The third prince's men are waiting at the door now." Yan Shi said decisively, "Throw those gifts out." He looked at Xiaowei's sleepy appearance and thought, "I just brought that kid back not long ago, and she's already being targeted?" Just as the steward asked, "Your Highness, is that all right?" he said seriously, "Have them pass a message to Old Third. My residence just has one more mouth to feed. A little maid, that's all. She is not worthy of using those things. Tell them they've gone to too much trouble." The steward was startled. Is this kid favored by his highness or not? So I know how to treat her. Tao Xiaowei, having just woken up, threw a handful of leaves from the ground into Yan Shi's face, scolding, "Big bastard, you're the little maid." The steward helplessly tried to intervene. "No, are you all right, sir?" But his face clearly read, "It'd be strange if I were all right. I'm in a bad mood." After a while, it was already evening. The steward still stuck close to Yan Shi, nagging, "Your Highness, the carriage to the palace has been prepared. Remember to bring a few servants. This is your Highness's celebration banquet. You shouldn't be too casual." Along the corridor, he happened to see Xiaowei all alone and thought to himself, "Did my words this morning hurt this little kid's feelings? I didn't expect this little demon to still." But adjusting his perspective, he saw Wei Wei was playing with mud. He froze stiff, thinking, "I was worrying for nothing." The steward said softly, "Your Highness, it's time." Yin, she said indifferently, "Remember to look after her." So, after sending off the great ancestor, the steward had to sit down next to the little ancestor, thinking to himself, "I, a grand steward, have actually become a babysitter for a kid playing with mud." A second later, he was stunned to see that all this time, the kid was playing with mud to sculpt a figure of his 7th prince. He was touched and praised in his heart. This kid is quite skillful. The sculpture looks just like his highness. As soon as he finished, he saw Xiaowei violently rip the head off the clay figure, cursing, "Bastard, that's for bullying me." And he was left with many unspeakable words in his heart. At the same time, at the third prince's residence, he furiously yelled, "What? Old 7th sent them back." The personal guard was so scared he didn't dare to raise his head. Yin Shua bit his nails and said with a twisted expression, "Old 7th, oh old 7th, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." The drums sounded, and the dancers began their first dances, the music blending together. Delicacies from the mountains and seas, and fine, rare wines were on the banquet tables. Everyone had gathered, but Yin Shi still sat quietly enjoying his wine. The only thing separating him from a monk was the saffron robe. The emperor, being too idle, spoke up, "Old 7th, you're sitting so far away that I can't even see your face." Yin Shi used his eyes to warn, "Don't disturb my rare moment of peace." The emperor smirked in reply, "I refuse." So he said, "Since Old 2nd isn't here, guards, move Old 7th's seat there." Yin Shi thought to himself, "What is this old man planning now? How annoying." Sure enough, whispers started around him. His Majesty is so unfair. He's clearly giving the crown prince a chance to win over Old 7th. Who doesn't know by now, to have Old 7th is to have the world? Yin Shi had no choice but to obediently sit down in Old 2nd's seat. The third prince thought with disdain, "You little brat dare to sit above me. Fine, Old 7th, you just wait." So Yin Shi unintentionally became the target of his third brother's wrath from the left, while on his right, he received the sparkling eyes of the crown Prince, his elder brother. Yin Su said gently, "Seventh brother, I haven't yet congratulated you on your merit in defeating the Qi kingdom. I toast this cup of wine to you." Yin Shi resignedly said, "Thank you, elder brother." Then he quietly listened to his elder brother's nagging. "This time, His Majesty has given you control of the Imperial Guard. That's no different from putting the safety of the capital in your hands. It's enough to see how much Royal Father values and dotes on you. From now on, we brothers should be even closer. Don't use this cold face to hide from reality anymore. Since you're back, you should visit more often. You shouldn't stay in your residence all day without coming out. None of your brothers get to see you." Yin Shi hadn't even had a chance to eat any delicacies, but he was already full from the Crown Prince's nagging, his face clearly signaling an SOS. "I want to go home." Being too idle, the third prince fawningly declared, "Your son has not yet congratulated Royal Father on obtaining 2 stunningly beautiful princesses from the Qi kingdom as noble consorts." It's just that, seeing him hesitate, Yin Shi became vigilant. Old Third said nonchalantly, "Your son heard that under the king of Qi, there were 3 princesses. After Old Seventh destroyed the Qi kingdom, he brought all 3 princesses back." This news was so hot that both the Crown Prince and the Yin Emperor were shocked. He thought to himself, "The princesses of Qi are all peerless beauties. There's another one? This brat dared to hide such a big matter from me. It seems that in recent years, I've spoiled him to the point where he's become increasingly lawless." He said fiercely, "Old Seventh, you secretly hid a princess. Is this true?" Everyone at the banquet cowered, receiving the king's wrath. Most were just young people eager for gossip. There's a good show to watch now. The Crown Prince was the first to speak. "Royal Father, calm your anger. The truth of this matter needs to be investigated clearly. We cannot be so credulous. We should see what Seventh Brother has to say first." In the tense situation, Yin Shi couldn't even eat a bite in peace. He even caught his elder brother's warning signal. "What time is it now? Stop eating." So the main character had to say with a lump in his throat, "It seems there is such a matter." The third prince, fearing the fire wasn't big enough, boldly threw more fuel on it. "Old Seventh, what is this attitude of yours? Hiding war spoils without reporting it is the crime of deceiving the monarch. Don't think that you can be lawless just because of Royal Father's favor and your few measly merits." The emperor nodded. "Old Third is not wrong. Old Seventh is now showing no regard for an old man like me." Yin Shi said in a serious tone, "Third brother, you said one thing wrong. It's not a few, but several dozen merits." While Yin Shuo was still stunned, the emperor roared with fire. "Old Seventh, don't be arrogant because of your merits, and act so wildly and insolently based on my favor. Kneel down for me and explain clearly what this matter of hiding a princess is all about." Old Seventh stood up helplessly. The emperor nagged, "Hurry up. What kind of decorum is this, dawdling like that?" He also cooperated with a few yes, yes, yes sounds. Then he said seriously, "Your son only picked up a maid. However, she is not a princess." The emperor didn't believe him at all. "What do you mean?" Yin Shi raised his head and said, "She is the adopted daughter of the Qi emperor, only 4 years old. At that time, she angered your son, so I wanted to bring her back to teach her a lesson." The emperor thought to himself, "So it's just an adopted daughter. Then she definitely can't compare to the 2 stunningly beautiful princesses in my palace." The third prince was now also surprised to learn the other party was just a child. Immediately, the emperor shifted to a new target to bully. "Old Third, you are a prince. How can you spread such baseless rumors?" Yin Shuo knew it was hard to back down. Royal Father's teachings are correct. Your son knows his mistake. The emperor coughed a few times and said softly, "In the end, this matter is also because Old Seventh hid war spoils on his own. I punish you." Before he could finish his words, a soldier ran in on all fours, shouting, reporting, "A group of ruffians from a Wei kingdom has appeared at the capital's border. The Imperial Guard initial judgment is that there may be spies from the Wei kingdom among them. We request your Majesty's decision." The emperor frowned and said, "The Wei kingdom has been restless for the past 2 years. Old Seventh, you don't need to kneel anymore. The Imperial Guard is under your management as of today. Go and handle it immediately." She immediately accepted the order. Only then did the Crown Prince breathe a sigh of relief, thinking to himself how hard it is to be an older brother. It's no joke. However, the third prince persisted, Father Emperor, about old seventh deceiving people, but was cut off by the emperor. It's just a female servant. As long as he's happy, that's all that matters. Those around them immediately understood a truth. Old Seventh's military power was no different from a death exemption medallion. Nanhai toiled outside until midnight before returning to his residence. He found the inside in utter chaos. Have you searched over there? I'll go check the rockery over there. He stared blankly for a long while. Then he startled them with a question. What happened? Making the butler jump. Breaking out in a cold sweat, he said, Your Highness, that little girl, she's disappeared. Upon hearing this, the pressure emanating from Nanhai dropped to an extreme low. A chill that could freeze the air radiated from him as he roared. Is this how you all do your work? The butler trembled and said, Your Highness. The little girl ran off when this old servant wasn't paying attention. We've searched the entire residence once, but still haven't found her. Nanhai called out coldly, Shadow guards. The black-clad guards appeared instantly, Master. His communication with the shadow guards was swift and concise. Nanhai said, Find her. The shadow guard shouted, Understood, then sped off. The butler stared in a daze, never expecting that the first time he'd meet His Highness's legendary hidden guards, it would be to search for a child. Very quickly, a shadow guard returned with a clue. Master, we found the shoe by the tree near the lake. The butler jumped upon hearing this. Then he said aghast, She wouldn't have jumped into the lake, would she? And so, Nanhai had to make a trip to the specified location. The shadow guard whispered, Master, it's up ahead. He silently scanned the surroundings. Then his sharp eyes found several long footprints. Then he discovered a familiar piece of gaudy pink fabric on a tree. Nanhai leaped up in a single bound and successfully landed on a branch, where he found Dao Xiaowei sound asleep. Seeing that this little ancestor was still safe, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, the portly butler had just managed to catch up. He thought in confusion, how did His Highness disappear in just a moment? Just as the thought finished, he heard a thud behind him, seeing Xiaowei nestled in his master's arms. He cried his eyes out, saying, Oh, thank heavens, thank the earth, we've finally found this little ancestor. As Nanhai carried her to the bed, he thought with disdain, You throw the entire residence into chaos, and you can still sleep so soundly. Looks like you need to be taught a lesson. He was about to act, but Vivi hugged him tightly, nuzzling him and saying, Mother, let me sleep a little longer. Nanhai thought to himself that her ability to plead for help was truly great, so he gently placed the little one on the bed. He carefully tucked her in, thinking with annoyance, When she's awake, she's exactly like a wild monkey, but when she's asleep, she's quite well behaved. Because it had been an incredibly tiring day, Nanhai also quickly lay down to get some sleep, but before he could even drift off, he was awakened by something. He patiently sat up, lifted the blanket, and found a bird's egg, his face showing several unspeakable question marks. Late at night, although all the lights in the third prince's residence were out, lanterns still moved along the corridors. Nan SOC played with a bird while listening to a report. Your Highness, the person has been brought. The maidservant who was brought in trembled violently. Hearing her superior's reprimand, Tian Shuang, you've been undercover at Nanhai's place for several years. It's time for you to help this prince. Tian Shuang asked shakily, Your Highness, what are your orders? Nan SOC laughed coldly. What are you afraid of? It's not like I'm going to eat you. You must secretly report all news from Old Seventh's residence to me. When the time is right, I will inform you what to do. Tian Shuang said, The seventh prince's residence is filled with highly skilled soldiers and shadow guards. Passing information out is harder than ascending to the heavens. The third prince sneered, That's right. Your younger sister is very safe here. If you were to fail, this one sentence of his drained all the color from Tian Shuang's face. The next morning at the seventh prince's residence, Vivi woke up to find herself kneeling on the floor with a heavy stack of books on her head. Her gaze towards Nanhai was super fierce. Noticing he was distracted, Vivi quickly took the books off to rest. He immediately said sharply, Put them back. She guiltily obeyed the command. But a second later, she came to a realization. Huh? Why should I listen to him? So, Vivi shouted, You scoundrel, why are you punishing me? Nanhai frowned at the little ancestor, then calmly listed a few things. Burning a room, climbing a tree, stealing a bird's egg. Each offense was so punishable that even Dao Xiaowei was rendered speechless. A second later, the little girl mumbled, I climbed the tree because I wanted to see if you had returned to the residence yet. But Nanhai was very clear-headed. Lying will add another incense stick's worth of time to your punishment. Seeing this was a lost cause, Xiao Wei's tears started to fall. That tree is very tall. I wanted to see if I could see my home. I've been away for so long. Mother must be very worried about me. You big scoundrel, can you take me home? Nanhai sat silently for a long time, then said decisively no. And so, the little girl sobbed until she trembled. Then she threw the books aside and yelled, this princess wants to go home. The commotion was so great that even the bird's egg got scared and automatically cracked into several pieces, instantly making the atmosphere strangely silent. From inside, the makeshift nest woven from a cloth, a baby bird hatched. Dao Xiaowei, for a rare moment, quietly observed its butt, that tiny back. Only Nanhai was not very happy. He coldly said, get down for me. It turned out the little one had already climbed onto his lap and was sitting there obediently. She even made a demand, scoundrel, can we raise it? The seventh prince personally set her down and said softly, someone. A maidservant entered, and Nanhai ordered her to take the baby bird to the kitchen and have it made into 7 dishes. Xiao Dao heard this and was stunned. The kitchen? The place where they cook? You want to eat the little bird? Scoundrel, you're so cruel. While reading a book, he said, last night, the butler was frightened by you. Tonight, send him a young chicken to nourish his body. The butler at this moment couldn't stop trembling, spamming the phrase, I feel that His Highness is truly terrifying. Just as Vivi was at her most desperate, Nanhai closed his book and said profoundly, however, if you behave well. Before Vivi could even hear the rest, she nodded her head repeatedly, accepting the deal. The very next day, after regaining his composure, the butler immediately held an emergency meeting among the servants. He coughed and said, regarding last night's incident, His Highness's attitude towards that person, even a fool can see it. From now on, everyone in the residence must treat Dao Xiaowei as you a young lady of the virtuous prince's residence. Understood. The servants were all stunned. The butler said sorrowfully, dismissed. From now on, bother that little girl less, to avoid bringing misfortune upon yourselves. Tian Shuang took this opportunity to approach the butler and say something. After listening, the butler honestly assessed, this matter depends on His Highness's orders. For now, you just follow that girl. Wait for His Highness's decision. And so, Tian Shuang successfully got a position to monitor the movements of Nanhai and Dao Xiaowei. At the same time, the room was cleaned until it was sparkling, clean enough to be a mirror. Vivi worked very hard cleaning, then said with bravado, scoundrel, you better keep your word. Nanhai asked gently, what did you call me? The little girl was taken aback. Then, after a long, shy pause, she finally whispered, Your Highness, which made Nanhai very pleased. Tian Shuang, eavesdropping outside, was utterly confused. How can His Highness bicker with a child like that? One night, as a sword blade mingled with cherry blossoms, Nanhai frowned slightly, gripping the hilt of his sword. He took a light breath, then sheathed his sword. Then, he simultaneously executed a lightning-fast strike, successfully cutting a flower into 4 pieces. After he finished practicing, the butler spoke up, Your Highness, the tonic bestowed by His Majesty has been brewed. Please drink it while it's hot. The white steam billowed, and his rhythmic footsteps halted. Nanhai's face contorted, his eyebrows nearly touching, staring at the bowl of medicine. He recalled his father emperor's words. Old Seventh has always been out fighting battles, not taking good care of himself. We will have the imperial physician prescribe some tonic and send it to your residence to nourish your body. He couldn't help but say with disgust, just taking pills is fine. I don't need so much of that old man's tonic. Seeing the butler's difficult position, Nanhai became wary of his surroundings. He thought to himself, that old man has probably placed spies somewhere in my residence. So, he had no choice but to obediently drink the medicine with a look of utter reluctance. While the butler was taking the medicine bowl to the kitchen, it happened to be when Dao Xiaowei was sneakily munching on an apple in the kitchen. She heard the noise and quietly observed. After the butler left, she took toddling steps towards the medicine tray. Drool trickled down as she stared at the candied fruit, thinking, what delicious thing is this now? At the same time, Nanhai had blown out the candle to end a tiring day. But heaven forbids a good night's sleep. He couldn't find the little devil Xiaowei anywhere. So he climbed into bed, thinking sadly, finally, I can sleep alone. He had just laid down, not yet asleep, when he was irritated by raucous laughter from outside. He went outside to check and saw Xiao Wei with a dazed look in her eyes. Her legs had motors attached, and her mouth was a loudspeaker, running and laughing, causing the maids and butler in the residence to try and stop her helplessly. But when she saw Nanhai, the little one stopped. She called out loudly, "Scoundrel!" Then she launched herself towards him with a leap. The virtuous prince successfully caught her, while the little one laughed loudly, saying, "This princess has caught the big scoundrel." This gave him a bad feeling. He thought, what on earth is going on? Before he could figure out what was happening, Xiao Wei, from his arms, somersaulted 3 times in the air and landed, then started running around wildly, as if performing in a circus. Nanhai asked humbly, "What's wrong with her again?" The butler stammered, "Your Highness, the little one must have secretly drunk the tonic gifted by His Majesty. The imperial physician probably prescribed an adult dose. If a child drinks it, just hearing that much." And looking at Dao Xiao Wei aggressively pointing towards the vast landscape, Nanhai coldly pushed her away, quickly escaped into his room, and said curtly, "I don't want to." As soon as he finished speaking, sure enough, the little girl started singing, "I want to go home," at the top of her lungs. Not wanting to cause a disturbance at night, Nanhai reluctantly opened the door a crack and said, "What do you want to play?" After hearing the little girl declare, "I have a supporting role for you. You play the dog that Vivi raises." Nanhai's whole body trembled. He whispered, "She want me to play a dog? Butler, where's my sword?" The butler understood, and with 2 streams of tears, he wailed, Your Highness, this old servant wants to play the dog. Let this little servant sacrifice himself for everyone." As a talented butler, whatever he did, he had to be the best. While Nanhai was frozen stiff, saying, "I understand the logic, but why do you have to take off your clothes?" Xiao Wei excitedly shouted, "Butler doggy," while Tian Shuang's legs went numb, thinking, if I report this to the Third Highness, will you believe me? At the same time, complex matters were unfolding silently in the palace. A guard whispered, "Lord Liu, those assassins were too fast. In a flash, they took the thief we previously caught. Away. That's the criminal scheduled for execution tomorrow. What should we do now?" That Lord Liu then ordered someone to quickly find the 7th Highness in the night. He said seriously, "His Highness has already said the 7th Highness is handling this matter. If we hide it and don't report." Before he could finish, a man in a red official's robe cut in. "If you report it, given the 7th Highness's cruel nature, do you think you'll keep your head?" As soon as the news reached him, the third prince had a good laugh at, "Is that true? Or false? Making old 7th act like a dog. The child old 7th picked up is quite interesting. I must meet her when I have the chance." After speaking, he came up with a wicked idea. He said profoundly, "Tian Shuang, do you want to see your younger sister?" Tian Shuang immediately said, "Is that possible?" Nan SOC continued, "Tomorrow night is the Midsummer Temple Fair in the capital. Find a chance to bring that child out for me to see." Tian Shuang hesitated, "Your Highness, this." After some discussion, she finally left to switch shifts with the red-robed official. The third prince's tone immediately changed. He said seriously, "Have the arrangements been made?" The red-robed official reported softly, "Your Highness, our men have pursued that group of Wei Kingdom spies. We've done as instructed, chasing away the unrelated death row inmates who were substituted for the spies. The 7th Highness will absolutely not be able to trace any information. But what if he becomes suspicious?" The subordinate worried. Nan SOC smiled and said, "Old 7th has been in the army for many years. He has no intelligence network in the capital. Investigating will be very difficult." During the morning court session, His Majesty gave him 3 days to handle this matter, to find all the spies and rebels in the capital. "I like to see how long he can remain arrogant." The official continued, "As for the Crown Prince's side, we've had someone disguised as one of the 7th Highness's men report the situation to him. To protect the 7th Highness, the Crown Prince will definitely make a move." The third prince nodded. "Good. Don't lose track of that Wei Kingdom spy. When the time is ripe, we will uproot them all. By then, both the Crown Prince and Nanhai will lose power. It's truly something to look forward to." At the same time, in the virtuous prince's residence, that Nanhai was still scowling, looking at the lazy Dao Xiao Wei on the bed. She mumbled in her sleep, "Leave me alone. I don't want to leave this bed." But in a flash, he had handed the little girl over to a tutor, saying seriously, "I'll be counting on your help in the future, teacher." Vivi sat bolt upright at a desk with a stack of homework, all because her top knot was tied to a rope hanging from the ceiling. The little girl was resentful, hating him in her heart. Sooner or later, one day, I will escape from this godforsaken place. Meanwhile, Nanhai quickly went to the main hall for official business, seriously discussing strategy. The Ministry of Justice couldn't find any information. We can only follow the old rules and investigate those fugitives. Starting today, divide the Palace City Patrol into 10 groups. Station them separately in the East, West, South, and North City and the Central Imperial City. At night, they will rotate shifts. Each guard post must have a capable guard commander. If there is anything unusual, report it immediately. Absolutely do not alert the enemy. After the soldiers received their orders and left, Nanhai remained standing in place, frowning in deep thought. A second later, his eyes flickered, and he quickly threw a hidden weapon. He successfully scared Xiao Wei until her eyes went wide, and asked in a stern voice, "What are you doing sneaking in here?" The little girl wasn't even scared yet. She was attracted by the hidden weapon stuck in the wall. "This shiny thing looks so pretty, I want it." So the little devil stood up and tried to pull out, even turning into Spider-Man, clinging to the wall and using all her strength. When she successfully got the item, Xiao Wei had already rolled 3 times on the ground. She rolled to Nanhai's feet and said loudly, "Can you let me go out to see the festival tonight?" He said decisively no. Vivi then used her ultimate move, sparkling, heart-melting eyes, and called out, "Your Highness." Instead of being swayed, Nanhai got goosebumps all over. A second later, he asked shrewdly, "How do you know there's a festival tonight?" Vivi immediately explained, "Everyone in the residence is talking about it. Please let me go." Before, whenever there was a festival, Mother would take me. Vivi loves going to festivals the most. Nanhai just frowned and said nothing. Until evening, Dao Xiaowei was still wearing her tiny maid outfit, sitting on a horse and shouting, "Have you ever been to a festival before?" The 7th prince answered honestly no. In the end, the little devil willingly sat on his horse so they could set off. Tian Shuang peeked out, her face pale as she thought, "I thought that if the 7th Highness agreed to let the little one go out, I could lead Dao Xiaowei away. This plan is half successful, but this royal guard. 3rd Highness, Tian Shuang really can't do it." At the same time, on the lush trees of the virtuous prince's residence, several men in black laughed. "That cold-blooded man is gone. Follow him." Today, lanterns lit up a whole stretch of the sky. The streets were incredibly crowded with people. Everyone was dressed in their most splendid attire, and there were also spectacular performances attracting crowds. Only Dao Xiaowei and Nanhai stood out completely. The little girl couldn't sit still, saying with disdain, "You're supposed to walk at a festival. You're so big, and you don't even know this." The 7th prince compromised and agreed, telling the guard beside him to take the horse away. He personally walked through the crowd with Vivi. He even had the spare time to win all the games at the festival, making the stall owners cry. He even personally chose a mask for his little ancestor, and they both gaped at a supersized sugar candy figure. This scene made the guards of the virtuous prince's residence dizzy, thinking, "This is definitely not our god of death, king of hell." Vivi, while chewing on a candied hawthorn skewer, naturally said, "You, go over there and buy me some steamed buns. And you, go over there and buy me a cup of cold tea. That clay figurine is so pretty. Remember, buy it for me too." The guard hesitated, seeking Nanhai's opinion. "Your Highness, this." He sighed and said, "Go." Throughout this process, Tian Shuang was following them closely. She thought to herself, the obstacles are all gone. The important thing now is how to get away from His Highness. So she bravely approached Xiao Wei at close range. Taking advantage of the dense crowd, the 7th prince thought, "Should I pick the little one up? Would carrying her be spoiling her too much? If I don't carry her, what if she gets snatched away?" While he was still hesitating, Tian Shuang and he brushed past each other. At the same time, they also fell into the sights of other individuals. They signaled to each other, preparing to make a move. Nanhai's sixth sense immediately put him on alert, but a second later he thought, "I'm probably just being too sensitive." After a moment of hesitation, Nanhai bent down and said, "Vivi, let me carry you." Surprise, the little girl had vanished, leaving only old 7th shout, "Hello?" Dao Xiaowei. In a dark alley, a group of men in black were secretly signaling to each other. "Got her." How on earth was it Vivi inside the sack? After checking, they crouched down and sprinted on. Tian Shuang's jaw dropped as she thought. Are they human traffickers? If I don't bring Vivi to the Third Highness, then my sister... She had only been worried for a few seconds when she saw a red-robed official land, and she secretly followed. Why does that person look so familiar? Isn't that Lord Cheng? Oh my god, what Cheng? Who cares about Cheng? Could it be that the third prince sent people here? I just sang one line, and I already saw Lord Cheng leap onto the roof. At the same time, in the middle of the street, Nanhai frowned as he listened to a guard report. Your Highness, we have investigated all the households on this street, but still haven't found the girl you're looking for. He said coldly, expand the search area. Search every shop, street, big house, and small house for me. Just as he left, Nan SOC ran over to bother him. My, he said, Old Seven. If you keep searching like this, the capital will fall into chaos. Fanning himself, he said, for a child, is it worth all this? He was met with a gaze colder than a Hanoi autumn wind. For Nanhai, the third prince feigned ignorance. That look of yours, little brother, it really scares me. Nanhai gritted his teeth. If you have something to say it quickly. Old Third nodded. Let me help you find her. Upon hearing this, he became agitated and shouted. You know where the little one is? Nan SOC said nonchalantly, this violent temper of yours, why haven't you fixed it since you were a child? Nanhai frowned and said, Nan SOC, isn't your appearance a bit too coincidental? Did you take the little one? Old Third said lazily, I'm kindly helping you, yet you slander me. He lost all patience. Are you going to tell the truth or not? That third prince said, your older brother has never worked for free. Nanhai stared at him, gritting his teeth. Then what do you want? In an abandoned house, the spirits of the drinking buddy brothers, the men in black, were not dampened. They said eagerly, come cheers. We've caught the person. The master said, we'll be handsomely rewarded this time. That princess also said it. We just need to go back and get the money from Old Qi Kingdom, and we're set. What about the other one? What are the master's arrangements? To be exchanged for someone in the Yin Kingdom's imperial palace. Who could be so important that they'd use this person for an exchange? They started to whisper, gossiping. Remember the woman that the Northern Emperor snatched from our master's hands back then? While they were gossiping outside, inside the dark room, Dao Xiaowei was deeply unconscious, with a voice faintly calling little sister in her ear. Only then did the little one slowly wake up. Vivi somehow saw the silver hair and heard the voice say, little sister, you're awake? And immediately scolded, scoundrel. The crown prince narrowed his eyes. Scoundrel? I'm not a scoundrel. They're all outside. Vivi's eyes widened as she looked around. Then she huddled close to Nan. Oh, you're not the big scoundrel. Then where is this? It's so dark, not even a firefly could light it up. Where is this? The crown prince, on the other hand, was remarkably calm, honestly explaining, we are both tied up here and can't get out. As for the specific location, I'm not sure either. But don't be afraid, I will protect you. Xiaowei was very impressed by the crown prince's handsome and bright aura, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him, until she looked down and saw that both his hands and feet were tied up tightly. The smile on our little one's lips immediately vanished. Her cheeks puffed up, sending a mental signal to the bastard. Even though you're fierce, hurry up and save this princess. The crown prince silently observed her, assessing in his mind. Dressed like that, she must be some family's little maid who ran away. So he immediately used his #1 nagging skill in the Yin Kingdom, bombarding her with questions. Little sister, what's your name? How old are you? Where do you live? How many people are in your family? Who brought you out? Do you remember anything before you were captured? Her little highness was processing the information, simply unable to answer so many questions at once. She mechanically said, my name is Tao Xiaowei. I live at, saying this. She remembered the butler's 2 streams of tears, calling Yen Shi your highness. So she decisively answered at the prince's residence. Yen Tuc was immediately intrigued, thinking to himself, a prince's residence? Huh? Which younger brother's mansion is she from? The scope has widened. Father Emperor has 40 sons. Besides me, there are 39 others. So he asked, then what is that prince's title? Have you ever met the prince in your mansion? Vavai said seriously, messy hair. In the crown prince's mind, the third and fourth brothers immediately appeared. Upon hearing this, his face turned icy. Yin Tiusi immediately gave his third brother a loving cross-out mark. Yin Tiusi cleverly said, "You must be the little princess that Yinshi brought back, right?" As the moon welcomed the night, Tao Xiao Wei noisily scolded, "What, you're the bastard's brother?" The crown prince heard this and swallowed with difficulty, thinking to himself, "So Yinshi's the bastard, huh? She actually dares to call him that." Yin Tiusi, with much left unsaid, remarked, "It seems Yinshi dotes on you very much. Don't be afraid. Yinshi will come to save us soon." Hearing this, Vai looked down at her tied hands, thinking to herself, "Bastard, will you really come?" Meanwhile, the unfortunate older brother, who was just a tag-along, thought to himself, "Seventh brother, maybe you can conveniently save me too." Suddenly, Yinshi's hidden weapon fell from Vai's body. Yin Tiusi curiously asked, "What is this thing?" She honestly showed it off to him. "This is a gold-plated ginkgo leaf that I had a hard time getting. Isn't it beautiful?" The crown prince nodded and said, "Very beautiful. It looks just like the hidden weapon Yinshi carries." And so the conversation of "Isn't it beautiful, very beautiful" went on for a long time, before the crown prince suddenly slammed on the brakes. Wait, a hidden weapon? At the same time, at the third prince's residence, Yin Suo held the military tally in his hand. He thought to himself, "Right now, most of the shops in the capital belong to the crown prince. The escort agencies and wine shops are mine, and the army is Yin Shi's. The fat piece of meat in Yin Shi's hands is finally mine." While celebrating internally, the third brother was distracted by the seventh brother. He helplessly sized up his seventh brother. "You're pacing so much you're making me dizzy." "What's scarier than one, Yin Shi?" "Two Yin's eyes." He then said fiercely, "Then how about I gouge your eyes out so you won't be dizzy anymore?" Yin Suo frowned and said, "Seventh brother is truly terrifying." Yin Shi couldn't wait any longer and took the initiative to attack. "Do you know the location or not? Or are you just trying to trick me?" Yin Suo said nonchalantly, "If I knew from the beginning, shouldn't I have been the one to abduct them? Your third brother is not a bad person. Be a little more patient. To catch a fish, you have to wait for the net to be cast." Yin Shi was infuriated by his third brother's leisurely attitude. After a long wait, a report finally arrived. But upon seeing Yin Shi, the guard hesitated. He decisively approached the third prince and whispered into his ear. But somehow, Yin Shi's dog-like hearing still caught the clue, and he came up with the answer himself: the warehouse behind the Z Lu restaurant in the West City. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, Yin Suo couldn't see him anymore, which suited his intentions perfectly. The third brother smiled and said, "What an impatient youth." Yin Suo smiled faintly, saying profoundly, "Seventh brother, oh seventh brother, being so impatient is not like you at all." He then ordered his subordinate to continue reporting. It turned out to be a feint. The subordinate from the third prince's residence carefully reported, "The real location is a woodshed behind the mountain in the East City, and that person has also been captured." Noticing his master's interest, the guard used body language to say, "Your Highness, now is the best opportunity, should we?" But Yin Suo remained silent, letting his asymmetrical eyebrows answer for him. Yin Shi was no small fry either. He had been hiding on the roof of the third prince's residence all along. After getting the dead-accurate information, Yin Shi flashed a victor smile. At the same time, in the abandoned woodshed, Tao Xiao Wei was actually using the seventh prince's hidden weapon to untie the ropes. The crown prince looked at her small, clumsy hands and said gently, "Yin Shi's hidden weapon is extremely sharp. Be careful not to hurt your hands." Vai retorted sassily, "I'm not stupid enough to hurt myself." Yin Tuc chuckled, thinking to himself, "I was talking about my own precious hands." After a while of sawing away, the rope finally fell to the ground. The crown prince, with his quick eyes, observed the surroundings and found that all the doors seemed to be sealed shut. After rummaging around, he found a small window that could be pushed open due to his suspicious and overly cautious nature. So he fumbled to take off his crown prince's hat, thoughtfully using it to measure the opening of that window. Finally, he despaired, understanding why this window could be pushed open. It was because even with the hat off, there was no way to squeeze through. Yin Tuc sighed and said, "We have to push this wooden door open to get out." Hearing this, Vai immediately rummaged through her clothes. Then she pulled out 2 flint stones, eagerly saying, Want to set it on fire? Just as the little one was about to strike the flint stones together, the crown prince stopped her. Careful, 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 thinking with a chill, why does this child have so many dangerous things on her? Yin Tuc seriously questioned, where did you get these flint stones? Do you know this thing is very dangerous? And you even carry it with you. Vai Vai put her hands on her hips, proudly saying, they're left over from I tried to burn down the bastard's house. The crown prince was startled, praying for his little brother. What kind of little ancestor is Yin Shi raising? After a moment, Vai Vai said, can't we just burn a little and then put it out? Burn a little and then put out like that? The crown prince nodded. That seems to have some merit. Let's give it a try. You're so smart. This made Vai Vai's nose perk up as she laughed. Haha, it's nothing. Handsome brother, you praise me too much. And so, the two cooperated perfectly. Yin Tuc quickly lifted the little one towards the wooden door. Vai Vai reached out her hand and struck with a clack-clack. Click, click, but their only response was a wind colder than a person's heart. But luckily, a spark flashed. But Lady Luck only blessed them that much, as the result was both of them freezing on the spot, watching the fire spread throughout the woodshed. Tao Xiao Wei reacted the fastest, wailing in panic. What do we do, handsome brother? Suddenly, there was a cracking sound from the ceiling. With a bang, Lord Chung burst in like the Red Power Ranger. Before he could even understand what was going on, he had already grabbed the crown prince's wrist and yelled, go. Vai Vai was also unconsciously pulled along, flying into the air. In the fire, all that remained were His Highness the Crown Prince's hat and the blaze. The gleeful black-clothed men finally realized there was a fire in the house and shouted, oh no, the woodshed is on fire. They desperately threw water, frantically saying, quickly save them. If we don't get the money, we don't need to live anymore. As soon as the words were out, the fire had spread so much that it caused the woodshed to collapse. The others cautiously said, boss, the fire inside is too big. They're probably. Before he could finish, they were distracted by a noise from outside. The newcomer pointed with all 5 fingers and shouted, bring them out for me. At the same time, inside the forest, Lord Chung said softly, it should be safe here, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Your Highness is truly worthy of being the king's successor, not even frightened in such a dangerous situation. Yin Tuc chuckled, with much left unsaid in his heart. Not at all, not at all. Why would I be frightened by a fire I started myself? He then gently asked the little one beside him, how is Xiao Wei? Are you hurt? Lord Chung knelt down, earnestly saying, this servant was late in rescuing you. I hope your highness will punish me. Yin Tuc helped him up, saying, get up quickly. Thank you, Lord Chung, for the rescue. Then, seeing Vai Vai shake her head, the crown prince smiled and said, what a brave child. Tao Xiao Wei unconsciously frowned, sadly saying, I'm sorry, bastard brother. It's Vai Vai's fault, can you? Before she could finish her words, the little one's eyes widened as she saw that Lord Chung about to swing his sword at His Highness the Crown Prince. Vai Vai screamed, bastard brother, danger, but still couldn't escape the bloody scene. The little girl lay snugly in the Crown Prince's arms, waiting for the pain to come, but feeling nothing. Vai Vai stealthily lifted her eyelids. She was immediately stunned to see the Red Power Ranger being attacked by a white-haired monster. Yin, she said coldly, who ordered you to do this? Lord Chung remained silent until Yin Shi twisted the sword 360 degrees. The pain in his chest made Lord Chung give in. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and said, the third prince. Having gotten the necessary information, Yin Shi pulled out his sword, granting his opponent a clean death, while the crown prince covered the child's eyes and ears. As soon as they heard Yin Shi ask, are you two all right? Xiao Wei and Yin Tuc, though not born on the same day, month, or year, shared the same tearful expression as they looked at him. Then the seventh prince immediately had 2 dangling weights hanging from his legs, one calling seventh brother, the other calling bastard. Yin Shi felt a headache coming on. He kicked Yin Tuc away, scolding him mercilessly, going out without guards, you deserve to die. Then he frowned upon seeing Vai Vai fearfully hugging his leg. He picked the little girl up, gently asking if she was hurt. Xiao Vai sobbed, they put a bag over my head and locked me in a very dark place, and there was a fire. Vai Vai was aggrieved and silent for a long time. The next second, she buried her face in his chest and sobbed. Bastard, I thought you weren't going to come save me. Yin Shi was silent for a moment. Then he comforted her. It's my fault. Over at the woodshed, the 3 men in black were finally tied up. It turned out the person who came to the woodshed in the East City was Yin Saw. He stood silently, watching the place burn to ashes. A guard quietly reported, "Your Highness, by the time we arrived, the fire was already out of control. We only found these few things at the scene." "Your Highness, this hat was found in the fire." The third prince held the crown prince's hat in his hand, gently stroking it as he said, "Am I too late?" As he spoke, memories of the past flooded back. Of the time his older brother taught him to write, "Third brother, you wrote this character fool wrong." Of the day he tied Yinshi's hair into 2 pigtails while he was sleeping. Then he was chased to death, only able to hide behind his imperial brother, crying aggrievedly, "Seventh brother is a short winter melon. Don't you come over here." Returning to the present, Yin Suo sighed softly. His heart heavy, he said, he died just like that. If the second brother is gone, the next successor is me. Isn't that just perfect? After smiling for a few seconds, he fell silent, whispering, "Liar." Yin Shi gently checked over Lord Cheng. The crown prince at his side quietly asked, "Is his word reliable? Was it really the third brother?" The seventh brother shook his head, saying, "Yin Suo is always very careful in everything he does. Moreover, he knows that Father Emperor's shadow guards are placed in every nook and cranny of the capital. The kidnapping might be related to him, but no matter how vicious he is, he wouldn't go so far as to want to kill the crown prince." A chill ran down Yin Tu's spine. He thought to himself, "Seventh brother, you just killed a man with your own hands, and now you're calling someone else vicious?" Yin Shi frowned slightly, saying, "Using the kidnapping to assassinate the crown prince. I'm afraid, Cheng, he was a man from a force hostile to our royal family." At the same time, seeing Yin Suo intently watching the team cleaning up the scene, his guard couldn't help but speak up, "Your Highness, please restrain your grief. The important thing now is to enter the palace and report to the emperor about the news that the crown prince has died." The hand holding the hat was trembling, but his tone was indifferent. "What grief is there to restrain? Just handle everything properly and let's go back. Being born into the royal family, what brotherhood is there? What the hell?" Just as he stepped out of the woodshed gate, the third prince was ambushed. The third prince was so stunned he stuttered, Seventh brother, daring to point your sword at me. You are truly audacious." As soon as he finished speaking, His Highness the Crown Prince also showed his face. Sure enough, Yin Tuc immediately froze. His voice gentle, yet not without a hint of something else. "Imperial brother, you're not dead? Still alive, you?" The Crown Prince immediately bombarded Yin Suo with questions. "Why are you here? Why did you want to deceive the seventh brother? Was this kidnapping you're doing? I'm not dead. Are you very surprised?" But seeing his third brother rush to hug him, Yin Tuc was quite stunned. Just as the atmosphere was getting touching, the Crown Prince started nagging. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well somewhere? Did you eat too much and get a stomachache?" Making the atmosphere awkwardly indescribable. So Yin Suo pushed him away, coldly leaving with the words, "See you at court tomorrow." After walking a few steps, he heard Vai Vai grumbling, Hey, you bumped into me. Apologize to Vai Vai right now." Yin Suo lifted her up. "Whose little bean sprout is this?" While Vai Vai unconsciously found him very familiar. At the same time, the news had also reached the Wei state. The beautiful woman crushed a flower petal, hmping coldly. "Dead? What a waste. It seems the Yin-Wei war still needs my planning." What the hell? After such a world-shaking night, Yin Suo still had the mood to eat breakfast. The strangest thing was that the three brothers could actually sit and eat at the same table. The Crown Prince softly said, "That's the whole story." Seeing Vai Vai drooling over the plate of pastries, the third brother asked, "Want some? Come on, Saya." But just as the food was about to enter her mouth, he snatched it away and ate it himself, making Tao Xiao Wei cry in grievance. Yin Shi decisively snatched the plate of pastries, scolding, "Childish." He passed the cakes to Vai Vai. Seeing the little girl eating happily made Yin Suo so angry he bit his handkerchief. He had to complain to his own big brother. "Brother, look at him." The Crown Prince placated him. "All right, let's talk business. This is for you. You like these rose cakes too, don't you?" With a cake in hand, Yin Suo obediently talked business. "So, the people of Wei State want to exchange you for consort Jin? And they also want to use this potato from the Qi State to exchange for money." Vai Vai caught the main point and fiercely scolded, "Who are you calling a potato? You're an ugly eggplant." With that, the two of them got brought in a character with great enthusiasm, sincerely acting out the great war between the potato and the eggplant. Yanxi decisively ignored the two kids, saying softly, Consort Jun was the Wei Emperor's fiancée when he was still the crown prince, but she was snatched away by our old man. The crown prince immediately switched to gossip mode and continued, I heard that when he ascended the throne, he expanded his power, but unexpectedly, he still can't get over this beauty. Yin Suo said indifferently, exchanging the enemy country's crown prince for love. This Wei Emperor is truly interesting. Hearing this, the crown prince became pensive, saying, I'm afraid Father Emperor will think this matter threatens his imperial authority and will want to send troops to attack the Wei state. Yanxi also feared this would happen the most. As he finished speaking, a soldier entered to report, Your Highnesses, there is a summons from the palace. Yin Suo said lazily, Father Emperor summoning us at this time must be because he already knows about this. Yin Tuc sighed, what's meant to happen will happen. The third brother tugged at the crown prince's sleeve, choking up, Big brother, I really didn't send Chang'e to kill you. On Father Emperor's side, Yanxi secretly glanced at Vai, who was still munching away, and said, We still have to wait for Father to clarify Chang'e's identity. The matter of the crown prince's assassination should not be reported to Father Emperor for the time being. But I have one condition. Yin Suo was startled, thinking it can't be that he wants the command tally back, can it? Yin Shi, while stroking Vai's head, said, The little imp has nothing to do with this. Don't mention her name. Yin Suo sighed and said, Easy enough. So the third brother set a condition first, but I'm not that easy to bribe. The crown prince smiled and said, I will report to Father Emperor that you saved me today to earn you some merit. Hearing his third brother's delighted, that's more like it. The crown prince concluded that this younger brother was actually very easy to bribe. After speaking, he covered Vai's ears and said seriously, But seventh brother, are you very afraid that Father Emperor will kill her with his own hands? The coachman outside began to urge, Quickly now, I invite your party to move quickly to the imperial palace. While everyone was lining up in an orderly fashion, Yin Suo noticed that his seventh brother seemed to be on the wrong track. He immediately called him out, Seventh brother, where do you think you're going? Yanxi said seriously, I'm taking the little one back to the residence first. It's her bedtime. The third brother frowned and said, But Father Emperor has summoned us urgently. Why are you going back to the residence instead of hurrying there? The seventh brother listened indifferently. Then he jumped straight onto his horse and galloped away, making Yin Suo explode with anger. Big brother, aren't you going to do something? He can't even distinguish what's more important anymore. Hearing this, the crown prince immediately thought seriously. Finally, he came to a firm conclusion. The little one does need to go to sleep. This left Yin Suo speechless. You too. Saw? Yin Tuc then patted his pouting third brother, saying softly, Let's wait for the seventh brother in front of the palace. Then we can go for the audience together. Don't be angry, okay? That night was a late night at the imperial palace, but the emperor still boldly slammed his seal on the table. He roared, That Emperor of Wei is getting more and more audacious. The crown prince immediately knelt and said, Father Emperor, please quell your anger. Yin Shi, looking weary from deviating from his early bedtime routine like the little one, thought with contempt, Why is everyone kneeling? But in the end, he still went with the flow and knelt as well. He heard the emperor ramble on about, Wants me to return consortium? Where would my Yan's face be then? The three princes below all snorted coldly in their hearts in unison. A son is not as good as a woman. After speaking, the emperor roared, Seventh brother, mobilize the troops for me. Let him know that he should not offend the dignity of our country. Yin, she replied, reporting to Father Emperor, Your son doesn't care about that Wei state's army. It's just that our generals have just annihilated the Qi state. Our vitality is severely damaged. To dispatch troops at this time, I'm afraid. The emperor indeed pondered. What the seventh brother says is not wrong. The Wei state dares to challenge us like this because they know that our great Yin cannot dispatch troops. Now, he then said calmly, Then you three tell me, we cannot let this go this time. The three princes below silently looked at each other. A second later, Yin Suo spoke up, Father Emperor, your son has a plan. This time, the Wei state only dared to use a small trick, which shows that their new emperor's power is not yet stable. In your son's opinion, if we can station an army at the Yanwei border and have the great Yin tribes there contribute soldiers, it can both intimidate that Wei emperor and consolidate our our military strength. It's truly killing two birds with one stone. The emperor nodded. This method is not bad. The third brother has been very diligent lately. Yin Suo said softly, "Thank you, Father Emperor. This matter should be handled by a prince sent there to stabilize the hearts of the tribes." Seeing his third brother looking at him, Yin Shi felt his insides itch. "What are you looking at? You have a command tally." The father emperor also exclaimed, "What the third brother says makes sense. We need to choose someone. The day after tomorrow is the martial arts competition. I will choose a suitable prince from among them to go and do this." After a long while, he magnanimously said, "Seventh brother, stay for a bit. The rest of you may withdraw." The dim yellow light was warm. It happened to be bedtime according to his biological clock, so Yin Shi managed to take a nap until his sleep bubble burst. The emperor said delicately, "You're so sleepy. Why don't you go home and rest?" As soon as he heard him say, "Your son takes his leave," the emperor became pensive. Then he roared, "Kneel properly for me." Yin Shi was not to be outdone. While rubbing his knees, he snorted coldly, showing that his legs were very tired. This made the father emperor feel helpless. He sighed and said, "It's because I usually spoil you. Forget it, forget it." Recently, there's been information that the old man from Qi is preparing to recruit troops to restore his country. Is this true? Yin Shi listened silently as the emperor said, "I shouldn't have been soft-hearted and spared his life in the first place. Send someone to investigate. If it's true, there's no need to keep that old man's life. The other two in the imperial palace and the one in your residence, there's no need to keep them either." Upon hearing this sentence, Yin Shi's eyes darkened. It wasn't until near dawn that he was able to return to his residence. He was immediately greeted by the butler's rambling, "Your Highness, you're back?" That little one kept making a fuss and wouldn't sleep, insisting on waiting for you to return. As he finished speaking, he saw Tao Xiao Wei prying her own eyes open, chanting the single mantra, "I'm not sleepy." He stood silently watching her, finally letting out a helpless chuckle. Hearing the familiar tone, little Vai Vai grinned, revealing all her milk teeth, and said, "Bastard, you're back." He crossed his arms and asked, "What are you doing?" To which the little girl replied, "I'm stargazing. I wasn't waiting for you." Yin Shi, a man of few words, looked up at the bright sky, making Vai Vai blush. But the next second, he looked down at her, picked Vai Vai up, and said, "Then I want to stargaze too." With that, he leaped in a single bound, successfully landing on the roof. He carefully set the little girl down securely, but Vai Vai excitedly exclaimed, "Oh, it's so high." And so, the two of them quietly welcomed the dawn of a new day. Yin Shi cheekily said, "This star is indeed very big." That day was a clear and cloudless day, yet Yin Shi moved very slowly, step by rhythmic step along the corridor. As always, the maids greeted him with good fortune, "Your Highness," when they saw him. But what caught their attention was not his handsome face, but something very interesting. The butler also vaguely thought that something was not quite right with the prince today. Why was he limping like that? So he boldly asked, "Your Highness, are you all right?" As soon as he finished speaking, his jaw dropped when he saw a green weight clinging to the leg of his handsome prince. When the guard reported, "Your Highness, the horse is ready," Wei Wei thought to herself, "Where is that scoundrel going?" So the little one hugged his leg tightly. Yin Shi lifted his leg high and said, "Are you planning to live on my leg or something? Let go." Wei Wei puffed her cheeks and said, "No, don't abandon me." He softened his voice, "Be a good girl and go to your lessons. I'll bring you sweets when I get back, okay?" But Wei Wei remained silent, not saying a word, which made Yin Shi worry all morning. She still wouldn't let go. Could it be that she was still scared? Maybe I should stay home and coax the little one today? Just as he was about to comfort her, Wei Wei seriously said she wanted 10, which made his face freeze. He thought to himself, "I've been overthinking things." Just after seeing his master off, the butler broke into a cold sweat as he welcomed two uninvited guests, His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness the Third Prince. He tried to choose his words carefully. "This, Your Highnesses, our prince has just left the manor and cannot return for the time being. Perhaps you could." Yin Shuo retorted sassily, "Are you trying to kick me out?" He laughed inwardly. "I timed my arrival for right after your prince left. What can you do about it?" The butler politely said, "This servant wouldn't dare. I'll go make tea for everyone. You may wait here for as long as you wish." But inwardly, he was crying a river of tears. The prince just left, and the third prince dragged the crown prince to the manor. This servant is afraid he won't be able to keep his life today. Yin Shuo shrewishly asked, "Where's the little maid that old seventh brought back? Have her come and serve tea." The butler stammered, "Well, this prince. The third prince snorted coldly. Do you dare to defy a prince's order? And so the butler fell into a dead silence, listening to the third prince's tapping on the table hour after hour, until Yin Shuo lost his patience and said, "Send word to that little girl. Why is she taking so long?" The butler wiped his sweat and said, "This is already fast. Please calm your anger." As soon as he finished speaking, a guard ran in to report, but he was alone. The third prince asked, "Where is that little kid?" The guard said awkwardly, "The old master said that he will not release her until it's time for a break." Seeing that his third brother wanted to hit someone, the crown prince intervened. "Why don't we just leave for today and come back another day?" Yin Shuo insisted, "No way," then forced the guard to lead the way for him to find her. And so the group of 4 leisurely departed. Upon arriving at the study, Yin Shuo pushed the door open and declared, "I am extremely busy, yet I made time to visit her. I like to see what kind of conservative teacher this is, who won't even give me face." As soon as he finished, Yin Shuo was struck dumb. Then he was so scared he turned pale, to the point that the crown prince had to ask about Yin Shuo's health. "Brother, what's wrong?" After speaking, Yinsu was also startled to see Tao Xiao Wei studying so diligently she was like a different person. The crown prince calmly looked from the whip, then zoomed in on the old master. He immediately bowed his head and greeted as a student. Yinsu pays his respects to the grand tutor. The crown prince thought in disbelief, and she actually managed to invite the imperial tutor Yun to teach Xiao Wei. Grand tutor Yun Er is a veteran of 2 reigns, having continuously served as the tutor for 2 generations of the Yin family. The late emperor, in order to invite him out of seclusion to teach the princes, had to bestow upon him gold and jade-inlaid rewards, and gave him the authority to freely discipline the princes. Yin Shuo, after his soul had flown away and scattered, finally came to his senses, knelt down and kowtowed, saying, Grand tutor, why are you here?" Yun Er snorted coldly and said, speaking so arrogantly and rudely, "I fear you have completely forgotten all the etiquette this old man taught you back then. Kneel down for me." What followed was the sound of a whip striking buttocks, which made little Wei Wei's face turn pale with fear. Her expression contorted as she cried for the scoundrel. "Help! There's a murder happening here." The masterpiece ended with 3 bumps on the third prince's head. The grand tutor said sternly, "Today, anyone who doesn't memorize their lesson will not step out of this door." Wei Wei remembered what yin she had taught her. "This one is the crown prince. You must respect him. As for this other one, pretend you don't see him, remember?" So the little one politely asked Crown Prince Big Brother, "Why did you 2 come here to suffer?" The crown prince whispered to her, "We came play with you, and we even brought snacks." Sure enough, as soon as Wei Wei heard food, her eyes sparkled. Suddenly, the grand tutor interjected, "No talking during lessons." This scared them both into a silent scream. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Sky Prison, the 3 men in black from the other day were hanging just like sun-dried squids. Everything was normal until the crack of the whip sounded again and again. As soon as they saw Yin Shi appear, all 3 of them shouted in unison, I'll confess too." But he said with disgust, "What a bunch of cowards." Jiu Ding. As soon as he finished speaking, a handsome, scarred young man appeared. He was Jiu Ding, the leader of the Shadow Guards. Yin Shi turned his head and said softly, "Use this method to go to the black market on the Yanwei border and investigate that old man from the Qi state for me. If there's really any movement, then say." His voice grew softer and softer, then automatically became louder again at the appropriate moment. "The old man will definitely send someone to silence them. If necessary, find a substitute corpse and bring it back." Jioding nodded. This subordinate understands. Back at the study, the grand tutor was still actively lecturing. Di Yuan by Sang Ro, Ji Xiaoho Sun, Lai Kai Chi Lu, Luo Shuho Min Bu Tian Xianu, Shang Xiong Tian 11, Zhuo Bai Wu Qian, Ning Bi Yuguan. He looked down and saw Tao Xiao Wei looking as if she were wandering in the clouds, while Yin Shuo was fidgeting restlessly. He could only signal for help to the crown prince. "Pust, big brother. If we don't leave, old 7th will be back." The crown prince said, "But the grand tutor is here. It's not easy for us to make excuses." Instantly, Yin Shuo was overwhelmed by the brutal power of the grand tutor and his 7th brother. He thought with a frown, "Can't worry about that much. A quick death is better than a miserable life." So he poked Xiao Wei and said annoyingly, "Hey, little potato, if you say you have a stomachache right now, I'll give you 5 boxes of snacks. How about it?" Wei Wei refused resolutely. No, no. She held up 10 fingers, hinting, "I shall Wei only know how to count to 10. Cornered, Yin Shuan nodded. Deal. Immediately, Wei Wei raised her chubby, trembling hand and said, "Teacher, Wei Wei has a stomachache." The grand tutor also stopped his lecture. But when they met his eagle-like gaze, both the little girl and the third prince broke into a cold sweat in silence. Finally, Yin Rui sighed and said, "This old man will go find the butler to call the imperial physician." As soon as the door closed, Yin Shuo pulled the crown prince to leave. "Potato, I'll come find you to play next time." Wei Wei also rested for a bit. Wiggling her 2 legs, she thought to herself, when the scoundrel gets back later, there will be snacks to eat. Before she could even take a few breaths, the grand tutor pushed the door open and came in, saying, "This child suddenly has a stomachache." The imperial physician brought out a set of acupuncture needles and said seriously, "A sudden stomachache. Then acupuncture is the most effective treatment." This caused Tao Xiao Wei to instantly turn pale. Life lost its light. In some corner, the beautiful woman from the Wei state said, "The 5th prince of Qi state has come all this way. Mo is extremely grateful." The other party replied politely, "The fire god's reputation is far-reaching. With the saintess's invitation, I, Qi, would not dare to refuse, even if it meant climbing a mountain of knives or descending into a sea of fire." Refuse. He was the 5th prince of the Qi state, Qi Yan. Mo then said, "I hope the 5th prince will convey my sincerity to his majesty." Qi Yan nodded, "Definitely." "Then I, Qi, will first congratulate the saintess on the success of her plan." After bidding farewell, his personal guard asked curiously, "Your Highness, are we really going to grant her request?" Qi Yan snorted coldly. What ability could a woman like her possibly have? However, the followers of this fire god cult are spread across the 5 nations. They can certainly be used. Meanwhile, the handmaiden beside Amoer was also puzzled. "Your Holiness the Saintess, the Qi state was destroyed long ago. Why must you go to such lengths to win them over?" After waiting for a long time without a response, she saw her trembling instead, until her whole body broke out in a red rash. The saintess cried out, "Yu Zhu, quickly get me the medicine." The handmaiden sighed and said, "Why is your illness of getting an itchy rash whenever you meet a man relapsed?" Before, she quickly grabbed the medicine, saying, "Don't mention that quack doctor again. Will all these damn men just die already? Disgusting men. Every single one of them is so vulgar, despicable, and shameless." Hearing Yu Zhu still nagging, "And yet you still made an appointment with that prince," the saintess said irritably, "The royal women are not allowed to go out. If I could contact the princess, why would I have to deal with those men? Our enemy is too strong. If the 5 nations don't form an alliance, it's only a matter of time before we are unified by the Qi state." Meanwhile, in the classroom, Xiao Wei burst into tears. "I won't dare to do it again." As for the imperial physician, his soul had nearly left his body after going through a chase scene more intense than a Hollywood blockbuster. He looked over at the grand tutor, who was still very relaxed. Only Yin Shi, who had just returned, was bewildered by this scene, which was more chaotic than a battlefield. He said politely, "Grand tutor, what is this?" Yin Rui pointed the whip at Wei Wei and said, "You, tell me the truth." The little girl, her head full of needles, stammered that I deceived the teacher. "I won't dare to do it again." Yin Shi was so angry he wanted to raise his fist, thinking to himself, "She's really getting more and more out of hand." But halfway through, he was met with Tao Xiao Wei's expression that made it impossible for anyone to strike her, so he stopped short. He pinched her cheek with his hand and said, "If you dare to lie again in the future, I'll punish you by not letting you eat." Wei Wei felt wronged and confessed. It was all that rotten eggplant's idea. You can't just blame Wei Wei alone. He shouldn't get to eat either, right? Yin Shi asked softly, "Rotten eggplant?" As he finished speaking, the butler, with tears streaming down his face, wailed, "Your Highness, you must seek justice for me. This morning, the 3rd prince brought the crown prince here and even said he wanted me to bring Wei Wei to serve them. The 3rd prince is truly terrifying. If it weren't for Grand Tutor Yun being here, This old servant is afraid he wouldn't have been able to see your highness again. Yanxi frowned and said, he asked for Xiao Wei. The butler didn't mind adding fuel to the fire, openly saying, the third prince also said, isn't she just a little maid? You're a grand prince, and you can't even order her around? Is there anyone in this seventh prince's manor that you can't command? Yanxi just said, oh, then stated frankly, in that case, starting from today, Tao Xiao Wei will be promoted to Princess Xianshun of the manor. Sure enough, the news reached the imperial palace, and he expertly dodged every single one of the pile of protest memorials thrown at him. This made the old emperor so angry he breathed fire. What kind of reasoning is that? She's just a princess from a defeated nation, and you're giving her such a noble title? She put on a dead fish-eyed look and said, doesn't father's palace also have two of them? I hear they were even recently promoted to consorts. This one sentence successfully sealed the emperor's inner rage. He said guiltily, insolent, You dare to compare yourself with me? Yanxi closed his eyes slightly and said firmly, Father, just issue the decree. You have state affairs, and I have military matters. Why must we waste each other's time like this? The emperor, while picking up his brush, grumbled, It's not impossible to grant you a little sister. However, what merit will you use to compensate me this time? Yanxi had long seen through his father's intentions and quickly reported, recently, the Wei state on the eastern border has not been behaving. This time, your son will temporarily use this as my merit. The emperor realized he had been tricked and took his anger out on the brush, snapping in two. After old Seventh left, the atmosphere inside the imperial study suddenly became quiet. The eunuch beside him said softly, Your Majesty truly dotes on the seventh prince. The emperor let out a breath and laughed. This old seventh has fought everywhere and has never asked me for anything. For him to ask me for something today means he now has a weakness. That way, he will be easier to control in the future, mwahaha. Since that child has been made a princess, she should be sent to the academy to study with the other royal children, right? Meanwhile, at the Xian Manor, a still sleepy Tao Xiao Wei was pulled up to have her hair combed and dressed in splendid clothes, listening to the entire manor say in unison, greetings to the prince and the princess. Yanxi said seriously, from now on, Wei is also a master of this manor. You must call her young miss and not be disrespectful to her, understand? Below, they replied in unison, this servant will definitely be loyal to the princess. Wei was still in a daze, sitting beside Yanxi and listening to his orders. Remember to make arrangements and clear out a separate courtyard for Wei to live in. She nodded and mused. What on earth is the scoundrel talking about? Wait a minute, I have to live alone? So Wei spoke up. Scoundrel, I want to live with you. The seventh prince gently reminded her. Stop kneeling on the chair. If you live with me, what would people think? Your status is different now. You must live alone. Wei puffed her cheeks in a sulk, then decisively climbed off the chair and ran off, forcing Tian Shuang to chase after her on all fours. As soon as she left, Yanxi said shrewdly, investigate this Tian Shuang for me. There can be no mistakes with the people around Wei. It wasn't until night that he dragged his tired body back to his room. But upon seeing Tian Shuang at the door, Yanxi immediately became wary. Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be serving in Wei's courtyard? Seeing that she was struggling to speak, he prompted, What is it? Tian Shuang's face turned pale with fear as she stammered. Well, could you please come in and see with me? What the hell? As soon as he entered, he saw little Wei clinging tightly to his bedsheet, talking to herself, I don't want to sleep alone. No way. Old Seventh was momentarily stunned, but he still said firmly, Go back to your courtyard and sleep. But no matter how he lifted, the little tyke below didn't budge an inch. She thought slyly, let's see how you can get rid of me. Tian Shuang was helpless and explained from the side, this afternoon, the young miss went to the kitchen to get lard glue. Then she smeared it all over herself and stuck herself to the prince's bed. This was a scene Yanxi probably never expected in his entire life. He frowned, hands on his hips, looking at the little ancestor on his bed. In the end, he helplessly judged, so childish, then quickly grabbed the left corner of the bedsheet, and then the right corner of the bedsheet. He successfully rolled Xiao Wei into a roly-poly doll, completely separating her from his bed. Moreover, Yanxi skillfully dodged every one of the little one's bites. which made Tian Shuang think he was even more childish. In the end, it was the prince of the manor himself who had to clean up the mess, just to protect his own sleep. As soon as he went outside, he ran into the talkative butler. "If your highness is worried about suspicion, why not just let the young miss sleep in an empty room in your courtyard? If she lives in another courtyard, what if a bad person," he silently prayed, "if anything happens to this young miss, all of our old heads won't be enough to compensate." Somehow, this idea pleased Wei Wei. Seeing her sparkling eyes, Yanxi thought, it's true that it's not safe. So he decisively carried her into the next room, saying competitively, "Let this little one sleep like this for one night to remember her lesson. I'll remove the glue tomorrow." As for himself, he went back outside to admire the fish pond, while listening to the butler. "Your Highness, the people in the manor were all gifted by your mother consort upon her marriage. They absolutely will not speak out of turn. Actually, you don't need to be so careful." Yanxi watched the fish swimming and said softly, "Of course I trust the people in my home. The little one will have to get used to me not being around often. What if one day I die on the battlefield?" The butler sighed and said, "Your Highness, don't say that. You are the god of war of our great Shi, victorious in 100 battles. You even said you would take care of this old servant." Yanxi smiled and said, "All right." After saying goodbye, the butler unconsciously recalled the 7th prince as a child. His heart choked with emotion as he said, "It seems our Ice Mountain prince, who keeps others at a distance, now has someone in his heart." Meanwhile, at the 3rd prince's manor, what the hell, a dazzling pile of jewels and jade appeared out of nowhere. After the disaster where they thought they had lost each other, Yin Shuo was determined to hug his imperial brother, Yin Su, tightly, to the point of dragging him over to watch him lie leisurely on a bed of jewels. The crown prince asked softly, "Isn't it lumpy?" The 3rd prince's eyes sparkled as he spaced out, finally uttering a single word, "Lumpy." The crown prince shooed him off, found a mattress, and while spreading it out, said, "Third brother, where did you get all this money? Are you really going to sleep like this tonight?" Yin Shuo immediately flopped onto it in bliss, turning on his side to say, "Father told me to choose a prince to go to the eastern border to establish a garrison. He also said he would design a prize in the martial arts competition, and whoever wins gets to go. My older brothers don't want to go to that desolate place, so naturally, they'll take better care of me." After speaking, he swam in the sea of jewels, saying, "My treasures." Yin Su asked curiously, "I've been meaning to ask you, are you that short on money?" Yin Shuo laughed and said, "Not short, but I think they're very cute. The more, the cuter." The crown prince casually picked up a diamond, staring at it, wondering how this thing was cuter than himself. The 3rd prince snatched it back, showing his cat claws. Hey, that's all mine, brother. Don't you even think about it." The crown prince sulked, putting his hands on his hips. "Humph, me, thinking about your money? Little Shuo, who do you think you're talking to?" Yin Shuo was so scared he dropped his darling and said softly, "Why are you so fierce?" But yes, your little brother knows he was wrong. In all of the Shi state, no one has more money than you. After a long wait, the royal martial arts competition finally arrived. The emperor frowned, on guard everywhere, while Yin Shuo happily ate 2 whole portions of snacks. Suddenly, the other princes walked by and signaled, "Third brother, please." The 3rd prince gave a thumbs up in reply. Don't worry. Third brother has arranged everything." A chill went down the crown prince's spine, and he said softly, "Yinsha, what wicked idea have you come up with now?" He laughed coldly and said, "Today, I will let old 7th know how important it is to have a good relationship with his brothers." It was the middle of summer, but you'd think there was an iceberg in the Yin state. Even Yin, she felt the chill. He signaled a warning to Yin Shuo. "Are you looking to die again?" Yin Su's face darkened as he thought, "Why do I have such a bad feeling about this?" The drums thundered, and the 3rd prince walked towards the competition grounds. The emperor was surprised. "Oh, old 3rd wants to join the fun too?" Yin Shuo reported, replying to Father, "There is unrest on the eastern border. The recruitment of troops is extremely urgent. As a prince, I should share the burden for the country." The Father King nodded. "Old 3rd is right. Have you figured out the method for choosing the prince to go there?" This question was right up his alley. He said clearly, replying to Father, "Actually, all the brothers are fighting to go to the border. It's very difficult for your son to decide, so I've specially thought of a way that is both fair and resolves the matter, without making it difficult for my brothers." This father and son shared the same mischievous operating system. The Father King took the bait, tell me. Yin Shuo waved his hand lightly, ordering his men to bring up the thing he had prepared. The soldiers struggled to keep their balance as they carried up something covered by a cloth. As soon as it was set down, The third prince mysteriously touched the cloth and said softly, "Father, look. For this trip to the border, the 11th brother and a few other younger brothers are too young, so they don't count. Since this is a martial arts competition, the 10 princes will use archery to decide who goes." He spoke the word fair, but for those who had bribed him with their darling diamonds, their named sections were tiny, while Yin Shi's alone took up 3/4 of the wheel. Immediately, a murderous aura emanated from the 7th prince, making even the crown prince wary. The emperor, however, was amused to see his old 7th getting a taste of his own medicine. He teased, "Why is old 7th section the largest?" Yin Shua put on a serious face and said, "There is unrest on the border, so we need a capable prince to go there and resolve it, to ensure the safety of our great Shi. Your son has divided this will based on the military achievements of each prince. After this wheel spins, the brothers will draw lots to shoot. Because when the wheel is spinning, we can't see the names, it will be fairer." The third prince laughed smugly to himself. "I've also tampered with the lottery box. Old 7th is sure to lose this time." The emperor said with amusement, "In recent years, Old 7th's title as the god of slaughter has shaken the 4 corners of the world. The matter of going to the border cannot be taken lightly." The third prince's thoughts are indeed meticulous. "Let's begin." As soon as he finished, Yinshi spoke up, causing the father and son duo to freeze. He said seriously, "That won't be necessary, father. If the names can't be seen clearly when it's spinning, and my section is so large, for the sake of fairness, shouldn't I be allowed to shoot one arrow?" The wheel with Yenshi's huge name on it was quite eye-catching. In the end, the emperor was speechless and had the archery equipment prepared for him. But Yin Shua was trembling with anger and said maliciously, "Hey, I said we have to draw lots. Do you dare to disobey your elder brother?" Yin Shi snorted coldly, "Draw lots? Then you pull it, let me see." The third prince took the bow and said fiercely, "I'll pull it then." But no matter how much force he used or how cutely he puffed his cheeks, he could only pant, helpless. Yin Shi's face was full of contempt as he said, "Oh, brother, do you want to try again?" Yin Shua threw the bow back at him, his embarrassment turning to anger. Fine, then you go first." The bow hit Old 7th, hurting the bridge of his nose. While rubbing it, he heard his third brother nagging, "Father, this really—" The emperor was also at a loss, thinking to himself, "The area is so large, I don't believe you can miss." So he approved. "If Old 7th is so insistent, I approve." Yenshi walked rhythmically towards the wheel. Then he signaled for the soldiers to make the object spin. Everyone nervously awaited the result, but he remained very calm, pulling the bowstring taut, then knocking the arrow. He frowned slightly and took aim, with the wheel spinning round and round. However, the arrow's destination was to land squarely in Yin Shua's section, leaving the emperor, the crown prince, and the mastermind, the third prince, all startled. Yin Shua was so shocked his jaw dropped, shouting what? The king father unnaturally cleared his throat and said, "If that's the case, let's proceed as discussed." The third prince was hit, so the third prince will go to the eastern border of a dynasty. While everyone was praising his majesty's wisdom, only the crown prince was beside his crestfallen third brother, comforting him. He said, "Xiao Shua, rest assured, I will definitely prepare the most luxurious carriage for you, and I'll even give you 100 osmanthus cakes." Seeing no response, Nan too kept calling, "Xiao Shua, oh, Xiao Shua," until the third prince shed tears, wishing he could disappear on the spot. After handling the comical matter on this side, Nanshi had just taken a short rest when a guard approached and whispered in his ear, "Master, something has happened." Jioding reports that his subordinates have caught up with the trail of His Majesty's people. After investigating, they discovered a mysterious force that has taken in this group from the Qi royal family. They even helped them hide. Their intentions are unclear. Nanshi thought to himself, "Qi Guiyu only has remnant forces left with no ability to restore their kingdom. What's the benefit of helping them?" Jioding continued, "Regarding this force, my subordinates haven't been able to find any intelligence yet. His Majesty's men have also returned. I'm afraid His Majesty is also aware of this matter." As soon as he finished speaking, Nanshi glanced towards the emperor and immediately saw someone reporting something to him. And so, the father and son's gazes met unconsciously. The seventh prince recalled the emperor's instruction. 2 people in the palace and 1 person in your manor can no longer be kept. Meanwhile, Nan Shuo was clinging to the crown prince's thigh, sobbing. Nan too sternly lectured the naughty child. "Did you provoke him first? Did you dig your own grave? And you still say, I favor the 7th prince. Suddenly, that seventh prince arrived, and the third prince fell silent. A second later, he bristled, fiercely scolding, "Don't you come over here. I don't want to see you." "Man," she said with utter disdain, "a sore loser. Are you even worthy of being called a man?" This one sentence made that cat completely tongue-tied. The crown prince hurriedly covered his mouth, affectionately chiding, "Don't speak nonsense." Nancy, speechless, said, "Oh, for goodness sake, let's talk business. This time, you'll probably be gone for half a year. It's a good opportunity for you to lend me your intelligence unit." Hearing the request, Nanshuo put on a superior air and said, "On what grounds? Where's the payment?" Nancy bluntly reasoned, "There is none, but we can make an exchange." The third prince frowned and said, "Exchange? What's the exchange?" He actually took out his own military tally, even dangling it provocatively in front of Nanshuo. This made the third prince's face freeze. Then he said in disbelief, "How do you still have this token? Didn't you give it to me before? Did you use a fake token to trick me that time?" "Nan," she said disdainfully, "didn't you also give me fake information? We're even." The third prince stubbornly said, "Just because you say we'll exchange, it's a deal? I don't agree." The seventh prince then said, "Without reinforcements, are you planning to go there and live on air?" Nan Shuo was indeed a little swayed. But the crown prince was the most level-headed one, that seventh brother. "What happened that makes you so determined to borrow the intelligence unit?" Nancy politely said, "I suspect that hidden enemies are colluding, possibly the force behind Cheng-Yi. I want to investigate this matter thoroughly." The crown prince indeed recalled Cheng-Yi's appearance. So he said seriously, "Xiao Shao, give it to him." Since their eldest brother had spoken, the third prince naturally stopped being stubborn. Nan Shuo raised an eyebrow and said, "The address is at the top of Cloud Moon Pavilion. I will instruct the chief steward. When I'm not in the capital, the intelligence team will be under your management." That night at Prince Xian's manor, the butler, while preparing Wei Wei's school bag, said, "These are the school supplies for young miss to go to school tomorrow morning. There's a wolf hair brush and a school bag the prince specifically ordered to be made for you. It's in the color that young miss loves." Xiao Wei didn't hear a single word, completely engrossed in playing with the seal on her face. But the little one was stunned when she saw a woman looking at her from a tree branch in the manor. In the blink of an eye, the person vanished. No matter how much Wei Wei rubbed her eyes, she couldn't see her again and thought it was a moonbird. The handmaiden beside Mo whispered, "Saintess, the two people we sent were both stopped." Mo smiled and said, "The seventh prince's manor is truly a fortress of bronze and iron." After many days of studying in a private school, Tao Xiaowei was finally able to attend the Imperial Clan Academy with peers her age. Before she even arrived, some Lin Jiao was already spreading rumors. She said, "Hey, have you guys heard? That person is coming to study with us today." The other kids immediately looked displeased, saying, "Her? Is she worthy of studying with us?" That's right. The Imperial Clan Academy has always only accepted children of the royal family. A female slave from a defeated nation isn't even worthy of polishing my shoes. Lin Jiao, the budding green tea, said, "Don't say that. If she was allowed to enroll, her name must have been added to the family registry. We should still be a little amicable with her." The kids reacted strongly. "What are you afraid of? Your mother is the emperor's biological sister, Princess Ping'an of the county. She's not even as good as a handmaiden. You're just too kind. When she arrives later, I'll give her a preemptive strike so she won't dare to come study here again." After speaking, that child ordered a servant, "Go over there and get me some mud." At the same time, the seventh prince's manor's carriage was speeding down the road. Upon seeing the carriage, a group of kids gathered around. It's here, it's here. She's in that carriage." Meanwhile, the arrogant little girl held the lump of mud tightly in her hand, seeing the carriage come to a stop. Catching a glimpse of Wei Wei's distinctive hair, the little girl thought smugly, "Let's see how I teach you a lesson." Before her hand could even move, she froze. The kid's face turned pale as she screamed internally, "It's the seventh prince." The seventh prince actually came in person. The third prince, too. Why is the third prince here as well? As she thought this, she heard a gentle laugh. "It's been a long time since I've been here. It really brings back memories." Even the crown prince was in that carriage. Just like that, Tao Xiaowei truly made a world-shaking debut at the Imperial Clan Academy, with the crown prince as her backer, the god of slaughter seventh prince carrying her bag, and the third prince eating snacks. This made the group of students so dazzled by the aura that it took them a while to recover. They knelt down, shouting, "Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Long live the Crown Prince." The little girl thought to herself, good thing I didn't act, or my head would be gone. Lin Jiao gritted her teeth in anger, cursing internally. That kind of fallen princess, on what grounds does she get escorted by 3 princes? The crown prince, sparkling, said, everyone please rise. No need for ceremony. Meanwhile, the 3rd prince carefully instructed, tuck this under the desk. If you get hungry, just lower your head and eat. Finally free from the 4 walls of the prince's manor, Wei Wei was extremely excited. The little girl quickly ran off, but she was called back by Nan Shi. Wait a minute. Hand it. Over. Wei Wei said unnaturally. What? The sassy 7th prince said, the flint in your pocket. I saw you take 4 stones this morning. After surrendering the weapon, the little girl ran off like the wind. The crown prince, true to form, nagged from behind. Wei Wei, remember to listen in class. If you don't understand, ask the teacher. Don't fight with your classmates. Don't follow Xiao Shua's example and eat in class. If nothing comes up, we'll pick you up tonight. Nan Shua complained with disdain. Why do you sound just like a mother? Wei Wei waved her small hand, bidding farewell to the trio of troublemakers. Somehow, this scene was witnessed by Qi Yuan. He gritted his teeth and cursed. So this little sister is living quite well. Tao Xiaowei, you are a person of Qi. Now that our country is destroyed, you can still laugh and talk with the enemy. Truly a disgrace to the royal family. But very soon, you will know the fate of a traitor. Upon arriving at the classroom, Wei Wei obediently prepared all her school supplies on the desk. Suddenly, a cough was heard from somewhere. The little girl Lulu aggressively approached. Hey, newcomer, this is the rule. On your first day, you must give us a treasure. Wei Wei honestly thought about the treasure the girl mentioned, and then she really had an answer. She began to rummage through her school bag, which made Lulu feel smug. What an easy-to-order-around servant. Tao Xiaowei said, hey, and placed a beetle in Lulu's hand. As soon as they heard the beetle buzz, the 3 little girls turned pale with fright. The screams of all 3 echoed throughout the large academy. The 3 of them picked up their skirts and ran. Wei Wei enthusiastically chased after them. De Zhuang is very powerful. In my manor, no one can fight against him. After a whole day of tussling, evening arrived. The butler was on his way to the Imperial Clan Academy to pick up the little ancestor from school. But as luck would have it, he was hit by some random carriage. He rubbed his forehead and said, do you have eyes? Do you know how to drive? You dare to block the prince's manor's carriage. But when he ran over, he couldn't find the driver anywhere. Little did they know that all of this was orchestrated by the handmaiden of the saintess of the Wei Kingdom. At the same time, Wei Wei was waiting at the academy gate with a blade of grass. The little girl watched the crowd leaving. Overhearing warm conversations. Mother, I want to eat candied hawthorns later. All right. Mother will buy them for you. Wei Wei sadly hugged her knees. Suddenly, someone called her Little Tao's. Little Tao Zi was a nickname that only her mother would call her. Qi Yuan whispered, Little Tao Zi, do you still remember me? Seeing Wei Wei hesitate without an answer, he lowered his eyes and said, have you forgotten your big brother so quickly? We met at the Mid-Autumn Festival. I even gave you a jade ball. He thought to himself, although that was mainly because this prince wanted to provoke Nan Shi. Wei Wei said, 5th brother? Is it 5th brother? Qi Yuan put on a pained expression and said, yes, it's so good that you're still alive. Father and mother will definitely be very happy when they find out. Hearing this, Wei Wei anxiously asked, is mother okay? Wei Wei misses mother very much. Qi Yuan said urgently, Little Tao, listen to me, your mother right now. Before he could finish, he heard the clatter of a carriage behind him. The manor's butler waved and called, young miss, this servant is here. Wei Wei wanted to say goodbye to Qi Yuan, but when she looked back, he was gone. She called out with teary eyes, 5th brother. The butler comforted her, young miss, this servant is at fault. I was hit by a carriage just now, which delayed picking you up. Young miss, let's go quickly. Follow this servant home. Snacks have already been prepared in the manor. Let's hurry back. Wei Wei still looked longingly at the courtyard where she had stood with the 5th prince of Qi, Qi Yuan, that night at the fire god cult, headquartered in the Yin Kingdom. As soon as Qi Yuan arrived, he grumbled, the timing was too rushed this time. She's just a 5-year-old child. I couldn't explain it clearly to her in the moment. The saintess covered the rash on her body and said fiercely, I don't want to hear explanations. My initial condition was very simple. Kill Nan Shi, and I will immediately help you restore the Qi Kingdom. And the one who contributes the most, you, will naturally be the successor to the highest princely position. She continued, I have had someone coat this blade with poison. As soon as it touches a wound, it will immediately enter the bloodstream. Even with martial arts as high as Nanshi's, he will be dead in less than 2 hours. The object was passed to Qi Yuan's hand. He immediately pulled his hand back. She whispered, right now, relying on your little sister is the easiest way to kill Nanshi. But she is your sister, after all. Can you bear to let her suffer all the consequences? Qi Yuan looked pensive and said, she is merely a bastard born of a mistress. Her name is not legitimate. Father kept her because he found her cute. Moreover, now that she is with Nanshi, she is no different from a traitor. The saintess laughed coldly. If that's the case, then I'll leave this matter to the fifth prince. My patience is limited. If you fail again, if you can't kill Nanshi, then your entire Qi kingdom will die at my hands. Throughout that night, the seventh prince had to search all around the manor to find Wei Wei, who was all alone. He said softly, didn't I say you don't have to wait for me to eat dinner? The little girl was unusually quiet, replying, you're back, bastard. Seeing that Wei Wei had something on her mind, he knelt down and asked, what's wrong with you? Were you bullied in class? Tao Xiao Wei wanted to say something, but in the next second, she thought sorrowfully, even if I tell the bastard, I still can't go back. Tears fell unconsciously, seeing Wei Wei's tear-streaked face. Pain Nanshi, what is this about? He hurriedly wiped her tears, saying gently, don't cry anymore. Wei Wei obeyed, and, as soon as she stopped crying, said, I miss my mother very much. Mother is the best to me. She makes me cakes, coaxes me to sleep, makes clothes for me, and takes me to see the lanterns. Bastard, don't you miss your mother? This question happened to touch a nerve. Nanshi frowned, asking himself, do I miss her or what? The image of a powerful woman appeared, her steady voice speaking, get up. Practice again. Nanshi, you are about to catch up to mother. Nanshi, Yin and your father will all depend on you in the future. His eyes carried a trace of sadness as he thought, I do miss her. I miss her every day. Suddenly, he hooked his pinky finger with Wei Wei's, which made the little girl a bit surprised. What is this? Nanshi then said, in E-City, there's a custom. People who don't keep their promises will meet with misfortune. What I have promised, I will definitely do. Hearing this, Wei Wei stopped crying and smiled at him. The next morning, she still had to go to the academy with her school bag. In class, Wei Wei built a wall around herself, blocking out all the surrounding chatter. As she studied, she wondered, I wonder if I'll be able to see fifth brother again. Somehow, the saintess of the fire tribe of the Wei kingdom was right there at the academy. She took out a flute. Wherever the music drifted, soft bodies writhed, and the students below, lulled by the melodious music, all fell into a state of drowsiness. Until that slippery, green body touched a student's hand. The boy looked down at the ground and broke into a cold sweat in fear. Snakes! 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 While all the students were scrambling to get outside, those snakes only focused on slithering towards Wei Wei. By the time the little girl realized something was wrong, the white snake had also frozen on the spot. Not only was Wei Wei not afraid, but she also held out her hand towards it. The white snake actually obeyed, leaning against her hand to be caressed. The saintess's handmaiden also descended from the sky. Afterwards, she was bribed with a skewer of candied hawthorns and carried away. As soon as she saw Qi Yuan, she even threw away the candy and called out loudly, fifth brother, I missed you so much. Qi Yuan, with Wei Wei clinging to his leg, thought with disgust, I just have to endure it for a moment. He played the part of a loving brother, saying, Wei Wei, the reason Big Brother came to find you this time is because your mother is gravely ill. She told me to give this to you. She's afraid that if she can't see you again, you can have this to think of her. Wei Wei clutched the 2 pieces of the jade pendant in her hand, sobbing, this is mother's other half. Mother said, we each have 1 half, as if we were never apart. Fifth brother, I beg you to take me home. Take me to see mother. Qi Yuan smiled smugly, thinking she took the bait. What a foolish child. Qi Yuan comforted her. Little Tao Zi, don't cry. I came here this time to save your mother. But in his heart, he was utterly disgusted. Tears and snot are dirtying this prince's clothes. Wei Wei sobbed, save mother? What must I do to save her? He then handed the blade the saintess had given him to Wei Wei. Seeing the little girl's dazed look, he continued, your mother's been sick for a long time. We've sought out all the imperial physicians. They all said that it requires the heart's blood of the seventh prince, Nanshi, as a medicinal catalyst. Whether we can get it now all depends on you. Wei Wei became agitated. She cried out, "Heart's blood? Fifth brother, you want me to kill Nan Shi?" The little girl trembled, passing the dagger back to him. "No, I can't." Qi Yuan gripped her small hand, gritting his teeth and cursing internally. "This little bastard dares to refuse me? Truly a shameless traitor." He persisted. "It's not to kill him. How could someone as small as you do something like that? It's just to take a little blood. He is the mighty god of slaughter. What's a little blood to him? But it can save your mother's life." Wei Wei's hand holding the dagger trembled violently, her voice growing smaller. "Save mother. I want to save mother." As soon as she heard Qi Yuan say, "Could it be that you don't want to see your mother again?" The little girl clutched the object in her heart and asked softly, "Now, what must I do?" That afternoon at Cloud Moon Pavilion, Nan Shuo was immersed in the chiming sounds within the information network of the place. Nan, she asked softly, "Who exactly took in that group from the Qi Kingdom? Have you put on enough of a show yet?" The third prince gave a faint smile and said, "My leg is a little uncomfortable. Little Shi, come and rub it for your big brother." Nan Shi's patience had its limits. He drew his sword and said fiercely, "It'll feel better if I chop it off." Nan Shuo immediately sat up straight, lowered his eyes, and said, "The information gathered in the pavilion is that it's the fire god cult." The seventh prince and the crown prince were both startled to hear this name. The third prince continued, "The origin of the fire god cult is still unknown, but it now has many branches in various countries. Their leader's background is unknown, and he is ruthless in his actions. In recent years, they have gathered many vicious subordinates, becoming a major cult in the martial world. I really want to know how they managed to accumulate wealth so quickly." Nanshi then said, "What is their purpose in taking in the people of Qi? They don't even have the ability to restore their country." The crown prince, who had been silent until now, suddenly said profoundly, "Nanshi, it's best to send more people to follow Wei Wei." Tao Xiao Wei returned to the classroom amidst the chaos of her classmates. "That scared me to death. I don't know where those snakes came from." The hand clutching the object trembled continuously. Her heart fell into a deep pit, repeatedly recalling Qi Yuan's words. "Nanshi is the main culprit behind the destruction of our country. He destroyed my Qi kingdom, so he is forever our enemy. If it weren't for him, your mother wouldn't be sick. What's a little blood for your mother's sake? It's just a little blood. It won't kill him." Wei Wei was completely isolated from her classmates now, her face dark as she thought, "Mother can't wait much longer. Mother is about to die. I'm about to not see her anymore. Mother, wait for Wei Wei to come save you." The teacher quickly arrived, clapping his hands. "Quiet, quiet, quiet down," so this old master could do a head count. Number 15, Su Su. Number 16, Lin Miao. Number 18, Tao Xiaowei. "All right, all 18 are here. Is anyone hurt?" Hearing the students say no, he continued seriously, "Regarding the snakes in the Imperial Clan Academy, I will report this to the higher-ups for a thorough investigation. Until the academy is cleaned up, classes will be temporarily suspended. I will send people to escort you all back to your manners. Remember to review your lessons at home during the break. I will have someone inform you when classes resume." The students all smiled brightly, saying, "No classes for the next few days. A break from school. This is great." Only Wei Wei remained silent. At the same time, at Cloud Moon Pavilion, the sound of water still trickled in the garden. The crown prince said seriously, "What if the Qi Kingdom uses the fire god cult to kidnap Wei Wei to threaten us?" Nan Shuo didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. "Seventh brother, I think we should do this. You still have valuable things in your possession. Just leave them temporarily with your third brother. Third brother will sincerely safeguard them for you. Not afraid of thieves, just afraid of people eyeing them. No matter how you looked at it." This person's face clearly spelled out 8 words. A trustworthy person, sincere in business. As soon as he finished speaking, he was immediately hit by Nan Tuesday. The crown prince said in a low voice, still provoking him, "Have you forgotten why you have to go to the border?" Out of respect for his eldest brother, Nanshi said seriously to the main point, "How many people does the fire god cult have in North City?" The third prince said softly, "According to my intelligence, they have a branch in North City, all of whom are women. On the outside, they just sell some fragrances. Even if investigated by the authorities, nothing would be found." Then, his playful nature that he could never get rid of resurfaced, taking advantage of the situation. "However, I heard they've killed many wandering young masters. It's said that the souls of those who were killed have even been seen by others." This time, he was immediately met with the sound of smacks from the seventh prince and his eldest brother. The crown prince said, "Sorry, Xiao Shuo, I just couldn't hold it in anymore." While Nan Shuo was holding his head and sobbing, the intelligence report from the noble family chimed. This made him feel wronged. He slumped up and yelled, "What is it now?" But after hearing the content, the third prince's whole body froze, which made Nanshi take notice. "What is it?" The third prince said seriously, "There were snakes at the Imperial Clan Academy today, scaring the kids to death. They're now being sent back to their manners." Nanshi's whole body stiffened. He thought worriedly, "Snakes? Is Wei Wei all right?" While the crown prince wanted to say something, "Brothers, do you think—" The seventh prince had already leaped down, scaring Nshua so much his jaw dropped. "Hey, are you crazy? This is the 7th floor." Inside, the crown prince said in a cold voice, "Xiao Shua, let's go take a look too. I have a bad feeling." Oh my god, the crown prince is so handsome when he's not smiling. The weather also turned bad. The old teacher was beside Wei Wei, saying gently, "The academy's horses are all gone. I've already sent someone to inform your manor to come pick you up. Sit here and wait for a moment. They will be here soon." And so, his carriage wheels rolled away, leaving Tao Xiao Wei sitting alone in front of the academy gate. Just as the rain began to fall, Nanshi gently approached. He asked softly, "It's raining. Why aren't you inside? I've heard about the snakes. Were you very scared? Are you hurt anywhere?" After asking repeatedly without a response from the little one, Nanshi thought, "She's not even speaking. She must have been quite frightened." He sheltered her from the rain and said, "The rain is getting heavier. Shall we go home?" Wei Wei said in a small voice, "Bastard. I'm sorry." He didn't hear clearly, so he moved closer and asked, "What did you say?" As he finished speaking, Wei Wei moved closer to Nanshi, and at that moment, a sharp pain spread through his body. The school bag also fell to the ground. The 7th prince stood there stunned, unable to speak. Looking at the school bag, soaked by the rain, he himself was no better, just not as intact as that school bag at all. Yanshi was still gentle, patting the little girl's head and saying, "Wei Wei, do you know what you're doing?" Little Wei sobbed, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." She forcefully pulled the dagger out. She thought to herself that only by doing this could she save her mother. "Yin," she quickly said, "someone came to find you, right?" Wei Wei's face was filled with fear. Recalling Qi Yan's warning, "You must absolutely not tell Yanxi about our matter, or we will all die." So the little girl was determined not to say a word, and forcefully pushed Yanxi away before running off. This made Old 7th clutch his wound and yell, "Tao Wei Wei, come back here." He desperately wanted to chase after her, but his body couldn't stay upright. A thought arose in his mind. "I can't move? The stab was just a small wound, unless there's poison." He quickly pressed several acupoints on his body, preventing the poison from spreading rapidly through him. He stared at the person Tao Wei Wei ran to, even though his vision had become blurry. But the young man's face wore a triumphant smile, making every nerve in Yan Shi's body tense up. "The 5th prince of the Qi kingdom? So you've hated me this much all along." With those words, he fell unconscious. The rain poured down relentlessly, and Yanxi lay unconscious like that for a long time, until a jet-black umbrella appeared, and the person stopped for a long while. Gazing at him, they laughed out loud. "Long time no see. Why have you tormented yourself to this extent?" The newcomer's identity, and even gender, couldn't be determined, only that they were a rare beauty. The person tilted the umbrella towards the ground, romantically feeding medicine to Yin Shi, while patiently rambling. "I say, Old 7th, your luck is still pretty good, isn't it?" Then they silently assessed his obedient appearance, which was truly a rare sight. The person couldn't help but giggle a few times and wanted to pull some kind of prank on Yin Shi. It's unknown if they managed to do anything, but their hearing was very sharp. From a distance, they heard the clatter of an approaching horse carriage, and both Yin Saw and Yin Su saw the scene before them. Without planning it, they called out in unison, "Second brother." It turned out the person was the 2nd prince of the Yin kingdom. He just gave a lazy enjoying the feeling of carrying Yanxi princess style. Yin Suo couldn't help but laugh. "He's like this, did you do it?" Yin Su immediately said, "How can you laugh at someone else's misfortune? Is Old 7th injured?" The 2nd prince retorted, "Am I that kind of person? He was already like this when I arrived." After he spoke, Old 3rd had many unspoken words, remembering the scene from their childhood when they scrambled to escape from the boogeyman, their 2nd brother. Every day, he'd spout nonsense like, "Hurry and test this poison for your brother. I promise I'll give you the antidote this time." The crown prince said with concern, "You're holding him like that. He'll definitely be furious when he wakes up." The 2nd prince said, "Don't you see how rare it is to see him this obedient? Don't you want to hold him for a bit?" Yin Su was genuinely moved and finally joined the doting on little brother club. He hugged Yin Shi tightly and said, "That's right. I remember he hasn't let anyone hug him since he was 6. Fan club aside, the Crown Prince seriously asked, "How is old Seventh's injury? Have you checked it?" Old Second said softly, "He was stabbed in the heart, and there was poison on it. I just gave him the antidote. He also sealed his own meridians, so the poison hasn't spread far. Besides, old Seventh has been fed many types of poison by me since he was a child, so he has developed a resistance to all kinds of poisons. No matter how potent the poison, it will only make him unconscious for a while." After hearing his eldest brother ask about a little girl around 5 to 6 years old, Old Second politely replied, "Yes, the man from just now took her towards the city." Yin Su said, "It's very likely the person who injured Yin Shi is taken way away. Little Saw, you and Yin Rong take Yin Shi back for treatment. I'll chase after that person." Old Third immediately stopped him. No, you go with him. Let me chase them." Old Second also agreed, saying, "That's right, eldest brother, let him go. He's healthier." Yin Suo wanted to object to something, but seeing the Crown Prince hesitate, he joined forces with Yin Rong. One of them said, "Don't hesitate anymore. Even though old Seventh has taken the antidote, we still need to get back quickly to remove all the poison. Go now. I'll handle everything here." Yin Su said worriedly, "Then you be careful on your own." Old Third tactfully said, "Hurry and go save old Seventh, then let him come save me. That's very important." So Yin Suo really did wander through every alley in the city. He anxiously thought, "This isn't good. I should still call for the people from the Moon Cloud Pavilion." Just as he finished the thought, he heard a piercing scream. Old Third was sure it was the sound of his little potato. At the same time, Wei Wei was indeed being threatened by someone, only able to hug herself and tremble. A loud clap of thunder split the sky. Qi Yin was no less terrifying, fiercely saying, "You still want to find an imperial physician for him?" Wei Wei trembled and said, But I saw the scoundrel lying there not moving. You clearly said nothing would happen." Qi Yin drew his sword, intending to strike Wei Wei, saying, "You treacherous bastard child. If you miss that dog Yin Shi so much, then go down there and accompany him." Just as the sword was about to swing down, a white snake leaped out and bit his hand. Qi Yin violently threw the snake to the ground, yelling, "What is this thing?" The white snake didn't attack again, but instead obediently slithered up the leg of a woman. Qi Yin was startled, yelling, "Su Mo." It turned out he had already been poisoned by the snake. Unable to stand steady, he knelt down and roared, "You're burning the bridge after crossing it?" The saint coldly said, "Using a 5-year-old sister for revenge, while you sit back and reap the benefits. You men of the Qi Kingdom have truly opened my eyes." Qi Yin struggled to say, "You already promised me." She replied indifferently, "I said that whoever took down Yin Shi, I would help them. Of course I keep my word. Your sister did that, so you can rest in peace now." Sure enough, Qi Yin was finished off by the snake venom in an instant, his body falling at her feet, scaring Wei Wei so much she didn't dare make a sound. Su Mo then ordered her people to take Tao Wei Wei with her, but they were secretly tailed by the dog Yin saw. Old Third's eyes widened, thinking to himself, "Damn it, she killed someone, and now she's kidnapping someone too? How hateful. I can't hear what they're saying from here at all." The saintess's attendant skillfully carried Wei Wei into the carriage. As soon as the horse started to run, the dog Yin saw also scrambled to chase after it, thinking if old Seventh finds out that potato was taken, he'll definitely be shocked. Thank goodness this old Third was born very clever. He glanced around and immediately found a horse carriage. He generously gave the driver gold, instructing him carefully, "Follow that carriage ahead. If you can't catch up, give me my money back." Seeing the gold, the driver went all out, driving like the wind and saying, "Too easy for me." And so, the two carriages raced, almost tailgating each other. At the same time, Yin Shi remained in a deep, unconscious coma. In his dream, he whispered to himself, "It's been a long time. I haven't dreamed of you." The woman standing with her hands clasped, gazing at the landscape, was his mother. She glanced charmingly at the short kid behind her, smiling and saying, "Sure, why are you in a daze?" Just as Yin Shi felt a bit of warmth from his mother, the scene shifted to a beautiful spring day, with peach blossoms falling everywhere. He was scared, clutching her hand tightly. "Mother, are you going to leave me alone again?" The woman gave a bitter smile and said, "Then do you want to come with me?" The little Yin, she unconsciously hesitated. A second later, a third person appeared in the dream, Tao Wei Wei. His mother patted the short kid's head and said softly, "Sheer, you've changed. Little Yin, she said sadly, but that little kid hates me. His mother sighed. Did she say it with her own mouth? If you care about her that much, then go find her. Try to protect her well. Returning to reality, he heard his eldest brother's voice nagging in his ear. What's wrong with old Seventh? Why does he have such a pained expression? Didn't you say he was immune to all poisons? He also heard his second brother pout. The poison has all been forced out. He'll definitely be fine. Next was still the crown prince's nagging. Has all the poison really been forced out? Will there be any after effects? When will he wake up? Somehow, the butler's crying voice also chimed in. Our prince has a strong body. What sin did he commit? This old servant wishes he could have taken the poison for him. Yin, she couldn't take it anymore, sprang up and scolded. Can you two please be quiet for a moment? It's noisy as hell. He was panting with anger, while the butler wailed and his two elder brothers nodded, praising, good boy. After that, Yin Rong said, let me check on you again, which surprised Yin Shi. Second brother, why are you here? Old Second said, seriously, treating and saving people is really expensive. I'll definitely have to take some treasure from that old third when I get back. Yin Suo wasn't there, but still had a sad line. Why does everyone keep bullying me? One after another, only eldest brother loves me the most. The crown prince changed the subject, asking Yin Shi in a serious tone, Wei Wei has been taken. Yin Suo is chasing after them. Old Seventh couldn't believe it when he heard about Old Third. Just then, a report came from outside. Reporting to Your Highness, this servant has something to report. Your Highness, a carriage driver outside delivered this set of clothes on behalf of the third prince. The delivered item was Yin Suo's priceless silver coat. The crown prince and Old Second, like two polar opposites, said in unison, this is Old Third trying to give us directions? What's written on it? I could die laughing. A dedicated translation is as follows. The fire god cult's rules are very specific. Only women are allowed to enter. One must change clothes to get in. The three of them were dumbfounded after reading it. Sure enough, at the fire god cult's headquarters in the Yin Kingdom, Yin Suo had really disguised himself as a woman to sneak inside. The beauty, surnamed Yin, was devastatingly gorgeous. Thinking to himself, I must find that potato quickly. Old Third blended in very quickly, mingling with the crowd while thinking, this place is just like the rumors. It's all women. He unconsciously glanced at a board full of portraits and happened to see someone with familiar, sharp eyes. He let out a huh, then stepped back to take a look. Surprise, surprise. The top mission of the fire god cult was to kill the seventh prince, Yin Shi, for a reward of 100,000 taels of gold. Yin Saw stared at the words 100,000 taels of gold, his heart pounding as he thought, I think I can do this. I think I can hear the sound of gold clinking together right now. He was about to sell out his brother to get rich when the saintess suddenly arrived, interrupting his inhuman intentions. Yin Suo hid in a corner, secretly observing and thinking, the saintess, is she the leader of this fire god cult? But isn't that the person who took the little potato away? Su Imo walked past Old Third, her steps unconsciously coming to a halt. Imoer looked at her wrist, thinking in confusion, why am I getting an itchy rash? Very quickly, she realized something and decisively turned back around. Yin Suo was just as curious. Why did she stop? He became endlessly worried. I won't be discovered this quickly, will I? Sure enough, the saintess was standing in front of him. She said in a stern voice, Yes, you, raise your head. Old Third broke out in a cold sweat, chanting, it's not me, she's not talking to me. Just as he said, may I ask what your orders are? Su Mo grabbed his chest, which was flatter than the Tan Sun, not airport runway. Sure enough, an itchy rash immediately broke out like wildfire on her fair skin. The two of them, unplanned, screamed in unison, automatically activating their self-defense modes. This person is a man, seize him for me. And so, Yin Suo was successfully turned into a human burrito, tears streaming down his face as he thought, my disguise was so perfect. How did she find out? And to treat a handsome man so brutally. The attendant softly asked the saintess, how should we deal with him? That night at the fire god cult, Yin Suo, a noble prince, was thrown and rolled into the dungeon by an attendant. He was filled with disgust. This time I couldn't save the potato and even got myself involved. Suddenly, a voice called out eggplant. Yin Suo turned around and saw Tao Wei behind him. He exchanged code names, my dear little potato. The touching moment didn't last long. As Old Third smugly thought, it really wasn't a waste coming here. It was all part of my plan. He couldn't even take care of himself. But Old Third was still reliable, saying, Don't cry, don't cry. Yin, she'll be here to save us soon. As soon as Wei Wei heard his name, she burst into tears. Eggplant, how is the scoundrel? It was because of... The little girl immediately remembered the scene of Yin, she lying motionless on the cold ground earlier, and her voice choked up. But finally, Wei Wei mustered up her courage and said, I hurt the scoundrel. I'm a bad kid. It's okay, even if the scoundrel doesn't save me. Yin Suo was so shocked he turned pale. You were the one who attacked Old Seventh? Wei Wei nodded lightly, honestly saying, the fifth prince came to find me. She told the story for so long that the moon in the sky didn't move. Wei Wei sobbed as she reached the end. The fifth prince was bitten by a snake and died. Yin Suo thought to himself, this little devil hasn't had it easy either. To endure so much at such a young age. The pity didn't last long, as Wei Wei knelt down, closed her eyes, and said, hit me. This scared Old Third speechless. This is the first time I've heard such a strange request. Potato, what are you doing that's so unsightly? Wei Wei said resolutely, Eggplant, hit me on the scoundrel's behalf. I owe the scoundrel. With that, she closed her eyes and moved closer, making Yin Suo burst out laughing. Don't worry, he's not that petty. When we get back, just obediently admit your mistake, and he'll forgive you. The fact that you could hurt him, I can't help but want to give you a reward for it. Then Yin Suo smiled and said, you don't need to worry about his wound. Our sickly doctor is back. Even if Old Seventh reached the gates of hell, he would be dragged back by him. Wei Wei didn't believe it, asking, is he really okay? Old Third nodded and replied, since he was a child, he was trained by our mother and some eccentric imperial physicians to have a body immune to all poisons. Receiving this information, the little girl finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Thank goodness he's okay. I saw the scoundrel not moving, I thought. Yin Saw, a.k.a. the person who doesn't know how to comfort, said something shocking with every breath. It's okay. He'll definitely be fine, but we might not be. With that, the two words useless appeared prominently in the middle of the conversation. It was too awkward, so Wei Wei decided to liven things up with a question. I want to ask you something. Why are you dressed like this? Not only was Yin so not embarrassed, he was proud of it, saying, of course, it was to come here and save you. The little girl immediately saw the crown prince's image in Old Third, thinking to herself, why do I have such a strange feeling? Moreover, I feel like I've seen this scene somewhere before. While they were chatting happily, the creaking sound of a door opening was heard. It was the saintess's attendant. As soon as Yin Suo saw her, he timidly yelled, are you here to interrogate me? Let me tell you, torture is useless. If you use money, I might reconsider. However, the other person only approached to carry Tao Wei Wei away. Yin Suo immediately got into his manly role, saying, hey, where are you taking her? Hey, if you have a problem, come at me. Why are you bullying a child? No matter what he said, the dungeon door closed. In silence, while Yin Suo was worrying himself sick, what should I do? Will the potato be tortured? Will those female demons deal with her? Water torture? At that moment, little Wei was actually soaking in a hot bath, while Old Third was imagining the little girl being whipped. Little Wei was having her hair combed, while Yin Suo was worried Wei Wei would be force-fed poison. The little girl was being fed and served attentively. Old Third cried his eyes out. Old Seventh, hurry up and get here. Meanwhile, that certain Old Seventh at the virtuous prince's residence also replied, I refuse to wear it. Yin Shi, struggling in his second brother's arms, yelled, you can beat me to death, but I won't wear it. Yin Rong chuckled, saying, why such a strong reaction? It's not like you haven't worn it as a child. He decisively broke free from the restraint, saying with disgust, that was because I couldn't beat you back then. It doesn't mean it's the same now. Somehow, Old Second appeared from behind, giving his little brother 100 points of love. And so, Yinshi's head was spinning, but his mouth still had the power to curse. You pervert, Nu Pa Ka Chi. The crown prince hurriedly caught him, nagging, why did you knock him out again? He just woke up. Yin Rong said reliably, for this kind of disobedient patient, one injection is the best solution. With that, Old Second bowed theatrically and said, what are you standing there for? Let's cook the rice, which made even the crown prince shiver. Second brother, you look really scary. After some time had passed, Yinshi opened his eyes to hear his eldest brother praising, second brother, your makeup skills have improved. Hello, Old Seventh. Then he dazedly heard his second brother call out, "Seventh sister, you're awake?" Yin, she mechanically looked down at the clothes on his body. Then he bared his sharp fangs, wanting to bite someone's head off, but Yin Rome wasn't scared at all. "What do you want to do to me?" It wasn't until he heard the Crown Prince say, "Old Seventh, if we don't dress like this, what if we're discovered while infiltrating and they harm little Wei? What do we do then?" That Yin she finally compromised. A second later, he wondered, "Why are you two dressed like this too? You don't need to follow me, especially you, eldest brother." Old Second nodded. "I'm just going there to get a little something back." And Yin Su, with his black rouge number 12 lips, said, "Little Wei once saved me, so of course I'm going too. Besides, if I'm there, even if Father Emperor blames us, the punishment won't be too severe." An aura of the Eastern Palace's ruler and a death exemption medallion radiated from Yin Su's body, blinding everyone. And so, in the middle of the night, a whooshing sound came from somewhere in the prince's residence. The butler was the lucky one to see the 3 gusts of wind in women's clothing rush past. He immediately choked up, thinking, "I've seen something I shouldn't have. I'll definitely be silenced." That's what it says in the books. At the same time, at the fire god cult, the attendant asked while feeding Wei Wei, "Who is the man locked up with you?" The little girl said firmly, "I don't know." Wei Wei's heart was filled with a gentleman's spirit. "Eggplant, I will absolutely not sell you out." "Wait, so you'd sell him if the price is right?" With that, a humph was heard, and the attendant respectfully bowed to the saintess. Su Mo reached out and held Wei Wei's head, coldly saying, "If the soft approach doesn't work, then let's try the hard one." Wei Wei was so scared she screamed, "Saintess, don't." But the red syrup still dripped down. And so, inside the fire god cult that night, a continuous panting sound could be heard. And the victim of the night was Tao Wei Wei's 2 bun-like cheeks. The saintess, with a nosebleed, said with delight, "So soft, it's so soft, super soft." The attendant beside her, while taking care of her, said, "Please don't be like this. This disgraceful appearance is causing you so much trouble." Normal people don't get nosebleeds from pinching a child's face. In a moment of carelessness, Wei Wei squirmed out of the saintess's arms. The little girl immediately bristled, turning into a grumpy cat and hissing. Su Mo was very good at taming cats, gently saying, "I saved you from your 5th brother. Is this the attitude you show your savior?" Wei Wei's face was tinged with sadness, thinking to herself, "Did 5th brother really want to kill me back then?" Su Mo continued, "Your mother isn't sick either. He just tricked you into taking down Yin Shi, and then he would have taken you down too." Wei Wei frowned, thinking, so everything 5th brother said was a lie? This big sister killed the 5th prince to save me. And so, the little girl was very tactful, saying in a small voice, "Thank you." Su Mo raised an eyebrow. "I was just carrying out justice on behalf of heaven." Little Wei immediately became wary. "That's right. How did you know he was my 5th brother?" She smiled. "There is nothing the fire god cult doesn't know. Want to join?" Upon hearing that, Wei Wei eagerly asked, "Then do you know where my mother is?" Su Mo moved closer, whispering, "I do. I can even take you to see her." The little girl was scared, saying, "You could just tell me the location. Someone will take me to see my mother." Su Mo hugged the little girl tightly and began to manipulate her. "I have everything here, and I can even take you to see your mother. You're looking for people from the Qi Kingdom. Who else do you need?" Wei Wei was squished by Su Mo's 2 heels, making it hard to breathe as she inwardly assessed, "This big sister is really scary." With that, the attendant asked, "Saintess, the man who is locked up?" Su Mo sighed, "It's fine. I have my own arrangements." Suddenly, the white snake on her neck began to slither towards Tao Wei Wei, which stunned the saintess for a moment. Little Baichio's spiritual sense is very strong. It would never get close to a stranger. Could it be that this child has some connection to the Yin clan? After following the ugly, squiggly directions from Yin Suo, the new troublemaking trio finally arrived at the foot of the fire god cult. Just a few steps in, they heard a familiar sound. "Help! Save me! Hey!" Looking up, they saw Yin Suo hanging from the ceiling, tearfully calling out, "Eldest brother, 2nd brother, old 7th, help me." The crown prince, who had a doting on little brother disease, immediately accepted the job. "Okay, I'll save you right now," but was grabbed by the collar by old 2nd. Yin Su said, "It's clearly a trap. Don't save him yet. They're trying to lure the snake out of its hole." In this family, only the crown prince sincerely loved Yin Suo. And she also agreed, saying, "Let's go, just leave him there. Being hung for a night won't make him lose any flesh." Hearing his 3rd brother struggling and crying for help from above, Yin Su said guiltily, "We'll save you when we get back." Old Third cried until his nose ran, thinking, I really am the unloved child in this family. Having only seen a corner of this place, the two elder brothers' mouths couldn't stop talking. It smells so good here. Is this fire god cult really all women? Yin, she scowled, saying, remember our secret mission? Are you guys here for a tour? The crown prince had a habit of talking nonsense when he was nervous. Where do we find Wei Wei now? Is it okay not to save Old Third? I should have let him down just now. Old Second immediately covered his mouth, sighing, brother, talking too much is also a disease. How about I treat you right now? While the boogeyman was attacking the handsome crown prince, Nanhai then tossed the clothes over, gruffly saying to change. I've discovered that the attire of those who can enter the inner sanctum is completely different from ours. Nan Dung held the delicate, soft piece of silk in his hand. He immediately couldn't hold back, baring his fangs to interrogate his seventh brother. What did you do to those women? I can't believe it. I went through so much hardship to raise you. How could you become such a shameless person? Nanhai quickly dispelled his second brother's old father aura with an affectionate smack. With a face full of disgust, he pointed to the changing room behind him and said, go see for yourself. After that, he could only silently watch his second brother continue his drama. Nan Dung, while quickly changing, said, Crown Prince, how could you doubt seventh brother's character? After changing into the new clothes, the other two couldn't help but marvel that their cult uniforms were quite revealing. This revealing feeling isn't bad at all. Only Nanhai was serious. We'll split into two groups. You two go together. Eldest brother knows what Vivi looks like. Nan Tuc switched to mother hen mode, saying, seventh brother, you still have a wound. If we go together, we can look after each other. He bluntly refused. I'm afraid if I can't win a fight, you'll get hurt. Nan Dung was very understanding. Pulling out some kind of treasure, he said, don't bother seventh brother anymore. I'll go with eldest brother. This is for you. If you can't fight, break this vial. A sleeping fragrance will be released, and you can escape. Nanhai also exchanged props, carefully instructing, you two take this. If you find Vivi, fire this colorless flare. If you get caught, fire the yellow one. Nandung nodded. All right, you be careful too. And so, they went their separate ways. At the same time, in the Sainus's room, Vivi's messy green hair had been neatly braided. The little girl, while looking at a potato, asked, Big sister, what is a queen? Su Mo said profoundly, it is the highest-ranking woman, the ruler of the world. As expected, Dao Qiu didn't understand a single thing. The Saintess continued, tomorrow, I will take you to see your mother. The little girl reacted strongly. Tomorrow? But I want to wait for the bastard to come find me. I want to apologize to the bastard. Just as she finished speaking, a handmaiden from outside entered and reported to the Saintess. She whispered something in Sumo's ear. All that was known was that after hearing it, Sumo just gave a smug smile. I quite like it when they walk right into the net. She rose gently, saying, there are a few mice in my sister's hall. I have to go deal with them. You be a good girl and wait here. Vivi tightly gripped Sumo's hand, saying coaxingly, before you go, can you tell Vivi where my mother is? As soon as Sumo looked down at this shorty, she was attacked by the little one's sparkling eyes. The Saintess was immediately charmed and said, actually, she is. Suddenly, the handmaiden beside her interrupted, Saintess, we must go. Sumo then said, I will personally take you to see her. Don't worry. Vivi pulled her hand back, thinking just a little more. The Saintess, however, breathed a sigh of relief. That was dangerous, almost said it. Along the corridor, the handmaidens couldn't hide their jealousy. Why did the Saintess bring a little girl back? I saw it too. She even told Sister Wenju to take her to the Saintess's hall. I'm about to bring her some snacks. Have you girls seen her? Is she well-behaved? Nanhai heard all of it. He pondered, well-behaved? That little ancestor? Could it be that they're holding other children here, too? So he got closer to the handmaiden, bringing snacks to the Saintess's hall. With just a light tap, he knocked the person out. His foot also gently caught the tray of snacks. He definitely thought, I should still go over there and see what's going on. In the opposite direction from Nanhai, another unlucky handmaiden had the fortune of testing Nan Dung's drug, groggily saying she was taken to the dungeon. Nan Tuc said worriedly, second brother, let's hurry over. That dungeon will scare Vivi. The second brother was full of interest, saying, I'm getting more and more curious to meet that little girl. She's actually made everyone so worried. And so, the two of them fumbled their way down to the dungeon. The second brother checked around several times, but didn't see anyone. Only then did Nan Dung realize this was probably a trap set for them. Just as things got tense, the crown prince put his arm around his second brother's shoulder. and silently looked at the group of people approaching. What the hell? They even brought the third brother, who with utmost innocence said, "Brother, save me." Those women, Zhu Hua said, "Swords and blades have no eyes." The two princes should surrender obediently to avoid getting hurt. Both Nan Dong and Nan Tuc were surprised that their identities had already been exposed. The third brother, in their grasp, still tried to yell. They plotted against seventh brother, and they took little potato. This is all a trap. Meanwhile, the crown prince took out a small vial from his person. The women shouted, "Don't try any funny business, or I'll drop him." The third brother's face turned pale as he said, "Be gentle, my skin is very delicate." And so, a visible cut was made on Nan Soc's fair skin. Realizing he was powerless, Nan Dong said mockingly, "Why so tense? If you already know we are princes, you still dare to threaten us? If he dies, there's one less person to compete with me for the throne. We can even split his inheritance." But he sincerely whispered to eldest brother Nan Tuc, "I'll release the smoke bomb. You run. I'll figure out a way to save this kid." As soon as the second brother finished speaking, the crown prince tossed the vial in his hand, letting it roll. Just as it reached their feet, he kicked a beautiful penalty shot right at the hilt of the handmaiden's sword. The sword fell, and the broken vial instantly created a cloud of smoke. Just as she let her guard down, Nan Tuc leaped towards the handmaiden, saying coldly, "No one can touch my younger brother." He then forcefully pushed Nan Soc forward, who was successfully caught by Nan Dong. As for himself, he engaged in a flurry of blows, making a proper scene. The second brother watched this scene, his jaw dropping. He actually knows martial arts? Crown Prince brother finished off everyone, leaving them unconscious at his feet. Nan Soc immediately clung to him, saying, "Eldest brother, you're so amazing." Hearing the Crown Prince say, "It's good that you're all right," Nan Soc immediately turned into an obedient puppy, saying, "Of course, did you think I was hoping you'd save me?" Eldest brother is the future Crown Prince of Great Yin. There's nothing between heaven and earth you can't do. Nan Dong took the opportunity to say, "So, you know martial arts. You're really good at pretending." A second later, the second brother mused, "So, when you go out without guards, it's not because you're afraid of being constrained, but because..." Nan Tuc quickly interrupted before the truth could be revealed, saying, "We'll talk about this later. Right now, we must find Vivi and seventh brother quickly. Then we'll deal with this place." Meanwhile, Nan Soc